first time since 2002, draft a wide receiver.
Play action for Ewers on 2nd and 10 to the end zone. Waiting for it and bringing it in is Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden, wide receiver of Texas.
Wow, there it is. The Packers needed to add a receiver, and they do so.
Packer fans everywhere are going to be thrilled with this pick.
Now broadcasting live from the shadow of Lambeau Field. Alongside Gabe Neitzel, Steve Scafidi, and Jason Wilde, here's Alex Strofe.
To me, their window is now wide open.
The NFL selects Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And away we go on night number 2 of the NFL Draft, live from the Tundra Trio. It's ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance. I'm Alex Strofe, alongside once again tonight from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy on ESPN Milwaukee weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. The great Gabe Neitzel is here. Gabriel, good to see you.
What's happening? I'm pumped, man. Like, I'm still flying high after last night. Get that wide receiver pick in, and I mean, who knows what happens tonight? But it's going to be hard not to walk away. Again, especially when you think about, like, still how crappy the weather is today.
Yeah.
And how people are still filing in. Probably not as many as last night, but still a bunch of people going to be filing in to the draft area. I think it's hard not to be excited about the way night one went, and hopefully it just continues here into night 2.
Night 1 nixed a 23-year trend of not drafting a wide receiver in the first round for the Green Bay Packers. They do it for the first time since 2002, when the Packers selected Javon Walker in 2002. In 2025, they finally do it, pulling the trigger on Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, the first-round pick.
Who wasn't even born when they took Javon Walker. Was not on this earth.
Now, that is a fun fact. Also joining us tonight for Night 2 coverage, live from the Tundra Trio. He is the host of Point Taken.
Ooh, I love that you got the updated show name.
On 620 WTMJ, weekday mornings from 10 to noon. He is the co-host of the ever so popular Cheap Seats podcast on ESPN Milwaukee.
Soon to have an episode 2.
Maybe we'll have an episode 2. He is the former mayor of Oak Creek, Wisconsin.
Nobody in this place cares about that.
Steve.
Oh, hey!
Yeah, Oak Creek represent. He is Steve Scafidi from 620 WTMJ. What's up, Steve?
And now, while you guys were doing all this here yesterday, I was in the mix over there all day and night. Electric, wild, crazy, sometimes dangerous.
Oh, I'm sure. With that many people?
A lot of hands touching hands in that whole thing.
Reaching out,
crazy.
touching me, touching you, sorts of situation.
Okay, nuts.
So
well done.
My favorite thing about Steve is he literally might be the biggest Packer fan I know.
Yeah.
Like, so
not size-wise.
No, not size-wise. No, I mean, I mean, Tausch is bigger than you.
He's also a player.
Yeah, that's very true. But how excited were you when you went in yesterday? What were your expectations, and did they meet, exceed? Like, how was it being inside of Lambeau and everything that happened last night?
It's an easy answer. It exceeded every one of my expectations, and I've been at a draft before in Vegas, whatever that was, 2 or 3 years ago. This was nuts here. The difference between that draft and this draft, Vegas, it's a pretty solid representation of all the teams. This is green and gold land here. Everybody was a homer. There's a mix of the occasional Tennessee Titan fan. Sure. Some guy from Miami, some weird dude from L.A. That was it.
Man, can you imagine coming up from Miami and this is what you got?
Yeah, what?
I mean, I'd apologize, but this is Wisconsin. Yeah. Well, I'm unapologetically. This is Wisconsin in April.
Yesterday was balmy compared to today with that rain. I didn't like the rain.
Balmy is a good word choice. Yeah. Yesterday was beautiful balmy. Here in Green Bay. 205,000 people entered the NFL draft yesterday in Green Bay.
One arrest.
That's insane. Steve was very proud of that. That's his mayoral side coming out.
Well, no, but I mean, that's maybe a little bit, but also he's been a season ticket holder longer than I've been alive.
What's the year, Alex?
1982.
No, 3.
3.
Oh,
1983.
so close. So close.
Sorry, I just thought you were older than
Here's
that.
how you'll remember it. I graduated from college that year.
How would I remember? How does that help me at all?
I don't know.
No, I think that helps. I think that's going to help you remember it in the future.
Yes.
I think
83
never doubt
college.
Steve. Never doubt Steve. But I mean, he's been to so many of these games. Like, again, 205,000 people. Usually it's 80,000. I mean, how many arrests on a light game day? Like 20, 25?
It's insane how safe it was. And I was telling you before we started, I'm in a crowd, I'm watching McAfee, and all the shows are here. I literally cannot move because there's so many people. But everybody was getting along. Everyone had a beer in their hand except me. I didn't drink yesterday.
Oh, really?
I wanted to take it in sober. Because when I was in Vegas, you know this story because I think I called into your show. I was not sober. And those pictures still circulate on the internet. I'm not happy about it. So I was sober yesterday, enjoyed the hell out of it. I did not expect that.
Hold on, time out. Pictures circling on the internet. Tell us more.
Well, we were in the inner circle in Vegas. So we were those, they have the groups of fans representing each team. We were in that group. Unlimited everything. And I took advantage, full advantage.
I mean, it's unlimited.
It's Vegas. It's hot outside. I'm going to drink a beverage, and in this case, if it's free and it's alcohol, I'm going to take the alcohol. So I did. So I was a little wound up. I wore a cheese head for the first time in my life.
Oh, wow.
And there's a picture of that. I believe one of our partners at WTMJ has blown that picture up 2 feet by 3 feet. It has it on the wall in her office. That's what I've heard.
I'm glad I asked.
I mean, would I like to have that picture to hang up around our office? Yeah, I probably would.
Would I like
have
that
the
picture
picture
to be sitting in our empty chair between me and Steve?
Next
Yes, I
year,
would.
next year for pregame, I will blow that picture up and we'll slap it on the wall behind us.
Now that is a team player.
How about that?
ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, which is presented by American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Visit amfam.com. Alex Grove, Steve Scafidi, and Gabe Neitzel hanging out with you as the second round of the NFL Draft is officially underway. The Cleveland Browns hang on to 2 of the top 4 picks in the second round of the draft. Now, something I learned today, right? You always hear the saying, you learn something new every day. I'm sure Gabe knew this 17 years ago, but I learned it today. And that is that I was wondering, why does Cleveland have the number 1 pick in the second round? It's because they had the same record as Tennessee, and they rotate first and second. That is how the tiebreaker evens out.
I learned something.
They will flip-flop picks.
You knew that?
In every
I did
round.
know that, yeah.
Of course you knew that.
I mean, it's not my first draft show.
Are you a
Young
seasoned
Strofe.
veteran of these draft shows?
I mean, I have been doing these draft shows for probably 10 years now on ESPN Milwaukee.
He's got a brain full of knowledge and a belly full of Kringle. You are ready to go.
Man, Kringle is delicious. It's good tonight. It is good tonight. Shout out to our friends at Racine Danish Kringle for providing that for everybody up here at the Tundra Trio.
I know Alex wants to get to a lot of serious stuff, but I always say this when I come here. Thanks for inviting me, because I don't do sports regularly.
Gabe, when is he going to realize it wasn't up to us?
Well, also, like,
Someone else made that decision?
I've told Scafidi, any show that I am on, Scafidi has an open door invite. I've got an open door invite when it comes to Steve Scafidi.
It's a love fest.
Pick 33 has come and gone. The Cleveland Browns have selected not Shedeur Sanders. They went with Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker out of UCLA. Therefore, Shedeur Sanders still sitting on the board. Gabe, obviously Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback at Colorado the last 2 seasons, the son of Deion Sanders, has fallen quite a bit as he was expected to be a first-round pick. At one point weeks ago, he was trying to dictate where he wound up, and now he's winding up hoping to hear his name called here on Friday night. What do you make of the slippage?
I think he could even slip to the 3rd round, if we're being honest, Strofe. Just based on, earlier today we had a Q&A for a lot of our partners here at the Tundra Trio with, we had Field Yates here, we had Adam Schefter here, and just kind of the way they were talking, it seemed like he could fall into the 3rd round. It didn't seem like him going in the 2nd round was going to be a guarantee. Now, it certainly still could happen, but I got the vibe listening to those guys talk, and I think that he's not going in round number 2.
You know, you can only fall so far. At some point, someone's going to say, we got a quarterback, but he has some talent. Let's just take him. So he's not going to go that far. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like sad for him. No?
He'll be fine.
I don't really know much about him personally.
It builds character. Not that I know much about that, but I know it builds
Didn't it
character.
sort of mess up Aaron Rodgers' brain by sitting there? Well, though he went in the first round.
I think it wired him into a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, first ballot Hall of Famer. Like I said about Shedeur, I'm not saying those are the expectations I'm setting for Shedeur Sanders, but similarly to Aaron Rodgers, he'll be fine.
All right. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful for him. Maybe we'll pick him up as a second stringer.
I like Malik Willis. You don't want to keep Malik Willis?
I do
All
like
right,
him.
in the hypothetical, if Shedeur Sanders is sitting there at pick 55, you want the Green Bay Packers to pull the trigger?
No, because we have other needs.
Gabe, I assume the answer is no from you.
Yeah.
A hard pass. That's a no from me, dog.
Hard pass.
I don't know
He
enough
swiped
about
left fast.
Well, I mean, again, if they didn't have these needs, if they didn't have Malik Willis, I think it would be different. Now, if there's somebody that, because the one thing that I also walked away from the conversations that we, from Shefty earlier today and Field Yates, it seemed like to me that Matt LaFleur really liked Matt, and that was a big thing for them. Like he really liked him, and despite him not being the decision maker, clearly that factored in that there was some collaboration there between Rudy and Matt LaFleur. But would it be shocking to me then if Matt LaFleur likes a quarterback later in the 6th, maybe with one of those 7th-round picks? No, it's what they did with Michael Pratt last year. You take a flyer, especially because, who knows? If Jordan Love has to miss a couple of games again this year, and Malik Willis gets another opportunity, looks good, I don't know if the Packers can afford to keep him because he's going to be a free agent and somebody else can sign him, and you're going to want somebody good. As we saw last year, you need a good backup quarterback.
What do we expect to happen today for the Packers? I know a lot of the conversation yesterday was we need offensive linemen, we need a cornerback, somebody in the secondary. Is that what you're thinking?
You can tell he's a radio pro when he tries to get to a segment too early. What will the Packers do in day 2? Currently hanging on to 2 picks. We will discuss what the Packers will do coming up next. But first, got to tell you about our friends over Higher Love. Whether you're watching every pick or just there for the party, Higher Love has everything you need to elevate your draft experience as the best in the Midwest. Higher Love offers the largest selection of organic, clean green certified products at an unbeatable value, making them the can't-miss top pick. Higher Love Menominee, just an hour north of Green Bay, right across the Wisconsin border. Score big at Higher Love in Menominee. Get 25% off in-store or online with code ESPN Draft. Hurry, that offer ends April 28th. Find higherlove.com/CBD today. More where that came from, Steve Scafidi. What should the Packers do in day number 2 of the NFL Draft? We discuss that coming up next. It's ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance.
We're back with a green and gold talk next on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance.
Wisconsin is still cattle country, and that's why Bunzel's chose to stay close to home to hand select the finest beef. Quality goes into everything they do, from Bunzel's expansive array of meats, homemade specialty sausages, and their award-winning beef jerky. It just isn't a proper holiday meal without Bunzel's top quality cuts on the dinner table. Tasting is believing. Visit Bunzel's at 90th and Burleigh or bunzels.com.
At -196, we start with whole lemons, nothing wasted. Each one is flash frozen in liquid nitrogen to a jaw-dropping -196 degrees Celsius, locking in the freshest flavor. Then we crush it, not just juice, the entire fruit, turned into fine particles and infused into premium vodka. The result? A crystal clear, bold lemon flavor like nothing you've tasted. -196. Freeze, crush, infuse. The ultimate refreshment. Available now. Please drink responsibly.
Draft week is here, and whether you're watching every pick or just there for the party, Higher Love has everything you need to elevate your draft experience. As the best in the Midwest, Higher Love offers the largest selection of organic, clean green certified products at unbeatable value, making them the can't-miss top pick. Higher Love Menominee, just an hour from Green Bay, right across the Wisconsin border. Find them at findhigherlove.com/CBD.
Save big money this spring with help from Menards. Get your garden ready with groundbreaking power equipment from Earthquake. Tillers are great for breaking ground to creating a smooth seed bed. The Earthquake Pioneer Tiller is designed to give you more control while still providing all of the benefits of a heavy-duty dual-direction tiller. Hurry in for all your lawn and garden needs and check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards. It's party time at Cousins Subs. For a limited time only, Cousins 2-foot party subs are back. Choose from the ham and provolone, Italian special, or turkey. Each party sub is just $39.99. Feeds 5 to 8 people and requires 24-hour notice to order. And now you can complete your party by adding a party chip bag and a dozen chocolate chip cookies for just $4.99. Order today in store, online, or on the app. Cousins Subs. We believe in better.
Hey, it's Brad Nortman, and I've got to tell you about my go-to car wash, Tsunami Express. Get your ride looking its best and ride the wave at Tsunami Express Car Wash, Milwaukee's fan favorite for that perfect shine. Sign up for a monthly membership and enjoy unlimited washes for less than $1 a day. Skip the wait with the fast lane and take advantage of great perks. With locations in Midtown Milwaukee, Waukesha, Greenfield, Oak Creek, and Mount Pleasant, Tsunami Express has you covered. Tsunami Express Car Wash. Wash, chill, repeat. Visit TsunamiExpress.com to learn more.
Hey, Gina, did you hear about the draft?
Wayne, there's no draft at Pella.
There's definitely a draft. Right, Wildy? Yeah, everybody's talking about it.
Pella windows are constructed of the highest quality. No drafts.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No drafts. Got it. There's more than one draft?
No, but Pella should be everyone's #1 pick because right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get no interest financing options or free glass upgrades when you order by April 30th. Our talented designers and installers can match your unique home through dramatic sizes, custom colors, finishes, profiles, product types, and more, along with durable and distinguished details. All Pella products stand the test of time, which is why we confidently offer the best wood warranty in the industry.
So where is the draft?
Coon. Get no interest financing options or free glass upgrades at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply and 4/30/2025. This is ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance, also sponsored by Higher Love Cannabis Company.
ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance, right here on ESPN Wisconsin, 620 WTMJ, and the all-new ESPN Wisconsin app. I'm Alex Strofe alongside Gabe Neitzel and Steve Scafidi. We are live at the beautiful Tundra Trio Houses in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the fun part tonight, fellas, is that everybody here can hear us. So when I do something like this, we're able to hear them. Who's having fun at the Tundra Trio tonight? This is way too much power for me.
You're going to abuse it quite frequently by the end of the night.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that was good. Not bad, Tundra Trio. Now have a couple more carblesses, have a couple more drinks, and then we'll try again. That sound good? Very good. Good thing the Packers got their wide receiver last night, because pick number 2 in round number 2 is Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Gabe, I know a lot of people were high on him, and if the Packers didn't go wide receiver last night, that's a guy they could have moved up for.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a bigger body. He's got the good catch radius. I would say, a little bit more similar in that mold of Tet McMillan, maybe a little bit quicker, but it still certainly has some of those holes in his game. I think he would have been somebody the Packers could have been interested in the second or third round should they have not taken the wide receiver last night. But now that a wide receiver goes, it's good for the Packers. You want wide receivers to go. They're not in that market anymore, and that just means, maybe another pass rusher, maybe another cornerback, whatever they're targeting for their second round pick is going to be available. Nick Emenwari just went, the safety out of South Carolina. Seattle giving up their third round pick to move up to the second, to move up here in the second round with the Titans. So the Titans slide back here in round number 2. But this is always the fun part of night 2 as well. Trades move fast and furious. The picks move fast and furious.
What I love about you guys is the way he just rattled that off in about a minute. It's just all that detail, all that expertise. I got none of that. I'm just here for charm.
You're here for the vibe.
I'm here for the vibe, for the charm.
What do they say? Fake it till you make it?
I wink at the older women in the crowd. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for.
There you go. Very good.
And I love my wife if she's listening.
I'm just going to let you sit with that for a moment.
All right, back to football.
Doghouse. No, I was just signaling that the Cleveland Browns were on the house. I wasn't referring to you at all.
I didn't know what you were saying. I couldn't even hear you.
I said doghouse.
Oh, doghouse. I'm excited.
Like where you're sleeping tonight?
Yes. Let me ask you about the Cleveland Browns. Is there ever a time in my life now, from now until whenever that ends, that there'll be a competitive, good football team? Seriously.
I will give them credit. The move they made last night was impressive.
Yes.
Which ultimately landed them this pick.
All right. When the pick was made last night, Steve, Strofe immediately called it the best day of his life. Like, his initial reaction was to call it the best day of his life.
Wow.
How do you feel about that?
The pick of Matty?
Well, I guess now I'm going to be the one in the doghouse.
The best day of your life? No. It was exciting.
I quickly retracted that statement.
Best sports moments?
I think yesterday is amongst the top 5 greatest days of my life because, number one, the NFL draft here in Green Bay. Everybody's here partying with us at the Tundra Trio. 205,000 of my best friends are inside right now. Number two, for the first time since I've been out of diapers, the Packers went ahead and selected a wide receiver in the first round and actually addressed a real need. I feel like always they say, oh, it's best available player, it's best available player. And I understand that philosophy, and I get that philosophy. However, sometimes you got to draft for need. And it felt like the Packers, more so than best available player, drafted for need last night in a position of need. And that is a thumbs up for me. So top 5 greatest day of my life.
All right, genius of the pick is it did everything. It satisfied the fans, satisfied a need, and everybody went home happy. And by the way, we're hosting the draft. That's what it did. That was the perfect pick for that night. Today's different. Today's really about need, and it's not going to be as sexy as it was last night.
I don't need sexy, right? I don't think today is a day about the sexy pick. I think today is, again, to your point, about filling the holes that are on this football team. Now, this is a good football team, right? This is a team that went 11-6 last year. It's a team that made it for the second straight year to the NFL playoffs, despite being the 7th seed, still 11-6, still a 2-win improvement for the Green Bay Packers. But they have needs. They weren't able to get after the quarterback last year. They're likely going to be without Jair Alexander, need to fill a need at corner, even though they like some of the guys in that room. Day 2, I think today, should be about making sure you're addressing some of the defensive needs. Yesterday was about the offense. I think today should be about the defense.
Quinshawn Judkins just went, the running back out of Ohio State. He ends up going to Cleveland. So the Browns have made their 2 selections now here in round number 2. Look, the other thing that excites me about yesterday's pick, you mentioned, hey, this is a good team. It's a good team. It's not a great team. And the problem with the Packers right now is they don't have enough star players. They don't have enough of those difference makers. Goody's done a really good job. And again, it's tough to do. Ted Thompson found a way to do it, though. When you're drafting constantly in the back half of the first round to find those difference makers, to find those Pro Bowlers, to find those All-Pros that are going to step up and make the plays when they mean the most. The star power is lacking on this team. And I feel that Matthew Golden can be, maybe not in 2025, but I think he can step up and be one of those stars and be that legitimate number 1 receiver they've desperately needed in the future because of all the physical traits that he has. And that's another reason why I'm excited about it, because when you draft, last year, Jordan Morgan, certainly a position of need, and he provided value because he was one of the 6 offensive linemen that you trusted until he got hurt, which was unfortunate for him. But he wasn't never going to step in and be this stud, this star player, this touchdown scorer, this difference maker. And I think that's why a lot of the fan base is excited. We need more stars on this roster. And here's a guy who we got to see be a star in the biggest moments of the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. Like his quarterback on 4th and 13, literal season on the line, threw it up to Matthew Golden because he knew he was going to go get it, and he did against Arizona State.
Here's my question. In the rounds past 1, there's no givens. You could be pretty sure about a first rounder.
Steve, hold on real quick. You followed the Packers long enough. There's no given in the first round either.
True. With this team, yes. But you hope that the player is going to be something that's amazing. You hope he's a good person. You hope that the team likes him and the fans love him. That's my hope as a fan. But as a assessor of the team, I want him to fill the needs like you talked about at the start.
Hey, Tundra Trio, just do me a favor. Make some noise if you want to hear from Jason Wilde coming up next. Coming up next on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, we hear from the 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year, the legendary Jason Wilde, joins us right after this on ESPN Wisconsin.
We're back with a Green and Gold talk next on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance.
Let's talk about home turf. Your lawn is a reflection of your pride, hard work, and even competitive spirit. If you want a yard that makes the neighbors stop and stare, you need the right plan. That's where Weedman Lawn Care comes in. Weedman's lawn care program is kid and pet friendly, uses golf course quality fertilizer, and has an effective weed treatment to dominate any issue. Get a free quote of Weedman's winning formula for your yard at weedman.com and get 50% off your first treatment. That's weedman.com. Weedman for the win.
At Potawatomi, where ways to win are endless, another chance to capture epic cash and prizes comes Friday, June 27th. It's the season finale blockbuster drawings. Watch your entries from Enchanted Spins, Unreal Treasures, and Boundless Bounty come together for drawings where $300,000 in cash and prizes is there for the taking. Be there to win your share. June 27th only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. More info online. Must be 21 years old to play.
Experience, knowledge, results. That's what really matters when you need help after a serious truck accident. You'll need a lawyer experienced in fighting and winning for people just like you. Gruber Law Offices has the resources, strong track record of success, and a team of experienced lawyers to take care of your needs. We've successfully helped people injured in big truck accidents for more than 35 years. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Hey, this is Brad Nortman, here to tell you about my friends at Bank 5-9. Everywhere I go throughout the area, I see Bank 5-9, and it's no wonder why. Not only do they have 14 branch locations, but their employees spend nearly 9,000 hours each year volunteering in the communities that they serve. That's on top of the financial support that they provide to several hundred nonprofits right here in southeastern Wisconsin. If you're looking for a true local community bank, check them out today at bank59.com. Member FDIC.
Turn up the volume and turn up the flavor with Tequila Mi Campo. Tequila made for those who choose to live louder. Just like a draft day pick in Green Bay, Mi Campo is the bold choice that brings excitement and anticipation to every moment. Mi Campo is crafted for utterly in-your-face flavor, made with 100% Blue Weber agave, aged in wine barrels for incredibly smooth taste. Ready for however you like to turn it up. Mi Campo. Live louder. Please enjoy responsibly. 2025, imported by Mi Campo Spirits, Canandaigua, New York. Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume.
Decades before the green and gold even wore green and gold, a Wisconsin tradition was in the making. The tradition of Kringle, Wisconsin's official state pastry. It lives on today at Racine Danish Kringles and Kringle.com. And this year they're proud to be part of the draft in Green Bay. Over 30 delicious flavors such as pecan, raspberry, almond, and apple cinnamon. Share a piece of the tradition with friends and family. Order online at Kringle.com or call 800-4-DANISH. Made right here in Wisconsin. Racine Danish Kringles. It's not just a treat, it's a tradition.
Here's Frank Wazalewski, Vice President of Access.
There are some national factory direct companies that are selling people stair lifts at twice their value. They're breaking within a year and they can't get service. So now people are paying 3 times what they should have paid from the get-go had they just gone to a local and reputable company. Call us, give us your price from your local contractor. We're going to beat it.
Access, the leaders in ADA general contracting since 1990. Will beat any stairlift quote provided by a local company. Visit allaboutaccess.com.
Nestled along the shores of Lake Michigan, the Knickerbocker Hotel offers a timeless escape in the heart of Milwaukee. Immerse yourself in the rich history of this iconic landmark where charm meets modern luxury. Picture yourself enjoying breathtaking lake views, luxurious rooms, and dining at one of the finest restaurants in the city. Whether you're visiting for a weekend getaway or a special occasion, the Knickerbocker promises an unforgettable experience. Your perfect stay awaits at the Knickerbocker Hotel. For more information and to book your next stay, visit knickerbockeronthelake.com.
Grilling the green and gold picks is sponsored by Pit Boss. You're listening to ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance.
ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance, live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay. I'm Alex Stroff alongside Gabe Neitzel and Steve Scafidi. And the people at the Tundra Trio were asking for him because he is the 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year. He is the co-host of Wilde and Tausch on ESPN Wisconsin. He is the Packers guy for Channel 3 in Madison, channel3000.com. He is the man. He is the legend. He is the great Jason Wilde joining us at the Tundra Trio. Hi, Jason.
What are you doing?
I am trying to make you blush, and it worked.
He's playing to the crowd, and I'm fearful he's going to be doing it all night.
If you're going to play to the crowd, make it something really exciting, like the firecracker shrimp from Buck and Honey's. That's what people should be excited
that's getting
about.
the people going.
I mean, what do you guys think
Read
about the firecracker
room,
shrimp? Pretty good, right? Yeah, pretty
the
solid.
Meatloaf was unbelievable.
The meatloaf and mashed potato, yeah. Buck and Honey's, thank you very much.
Culinary expert Jason Wilde.
I'm an eating expert. I'm not a culinary expert. Obviously.
So, I want to dive in because I've had the opportunity to talk to you.
Firecracker shrimp?
I mean, if you want to,
No,
we can.
Okay, fine.
But listening to you on your show, when you came on our show this morning, and just kind of hearing you talk in general, you were pretty impressed with the way Goody handled everything last night. Why do you think he was so forthcoming about the offers that were on the table, and ultimately he decides to take Matthew Golden? Because he's been selective with the truth, I think is a generous way to put it, at different times in the past.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that. That's very well done. Look, I think it was important, first of all, to be honest about Matthew Golden. I don't think, I was telling this story yesterday when we were on stage with Bulaga. Ted Thompson did not expect Brian Bulaga to be available at 23. I don't think Goody expected Golden to be there at 23. There was talk of him to Dallas, Seattle. Both those teams took offensive linemen instead of wide receivers. So that allowed Matthew Golden to still be on the board at 23. So that was part of it. I also thought it was important that he was very honest about the fact that they had offers that he, quote, called very tempting. So, and whether or not them being here influenced that, I don't think so. But if it was a tiebreaker, he chose the player. And the other part of being tempted by a trade means you have other guys on the board that you like. So if you move back a few picks, you can still get one of the guys. And they did it with Jaden Reed a couple of years ago in the second round. They traded back not once, but twice, and then they settled for Jaden Reed. And Jaden Reed ended up being their leading receiver 2 years running. So, I think that's a smart approach, but he decided that he wanted Matthew Golden more than any of the options. But when I asked him the question about not falling in love with a guy, he was very honest about saying, look, it wasn't that they were in love with Matthew Golden specifically, because that's not how scouting should work.
So what were they in love with?
You don't fall in love.
It's not draft day. You're not writing yourself a Post-it note. Matthew Golden, no matter what.
You don't think there was a Post-it note that said that in Goody's office?
No, I don't think so. And I as much as I love that film, certainly more than a lot of other people do.
It's a great movie. I watched it Wednesday night.
So bad.
It's
so
very
bad,
unrealistic.
it's good.
No, it does. It never turns that corner for me.
It's a modern day rom-com.
As much as I love Kevin Costner, it never turns that corner for me.
Is it the Shamar Stewart of movies for you?
I didn't come here to talk about movies.
All right.
Oh, wow.
I rarely go to a movie.
So my point is that the Vontae Mack, no matter what, that is not how GMs truly operate. That's part of your unrealisticness. Now, if you're picking fifth, like he was at the start of that film, or seventh, or whatever he was, you can do that, I suppose. Not at 23. And so, as I learned from Matt LaFleur on this stage yesterday, he turned it around on me and said, well, who do you think we should pick? And I said, Teteroa McMillan. He said, okay, good. He's gone. Now who? And then I said, Shamar Stewart, just to needle you. And then he said, okay, good. Now he's gone. Now what are you going to do? And I said, and he said, welcome to the draft. Because that's exactly what you go through. You have these guys that you're really interested in, and then they go, and then you have to figure out who's next. That's why you don't fall in love.
We are working on sending you to Brewers coverage here on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. I know Steve Scafidi is itching. He's shaking in his boots to ask Jason Wilde a question, which he will get to do in just a moment. But if you are listening on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, you will need to get to YouTube at ESPN Milwaukee and watch the continuation of our coverage. We're with you until the conclusion of round 3. And, of course, if you're in the backyard of the Tundra Trio houses here in Green Bay, you will hear Steve Scafidi's question to Jason Wilde in about 30 seconds. So just a reminder, Brewers coming up next on ESPN Milwaukee, and we stay with you on ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube and at the Tundra Trio backyard. Gabe, did you
Trayvon Henderson just went running back. So both Ohio State running backs gone within 3 picks here in the second round.
There you go. There you go.
He goes to the New England Patriots.
That will do it for us on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Get your booty over to YouTube right now. Steve Scafidi asked Jason Wilde a question.
Jason Wilde, when you heard the Matt Golden pick last night, not the sports writer reaction, just a human being that was in Green Bay. You love this town. You've been here forever. I know what it was like because I was standing in the crowd. It was amazing. What was that experience like? Not as a sports writer. What does that feel like as someone who was at the events, seeing it unfold?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't see things through a lens other than the sports
Come on,
lens.
Jason. I built that thing up, and then you let me down like that.
Yeah, I also don't lie. I mean, unless it suits me.
The moment. Describe the moment.
So I would say that I was going to.
I'm getting all agitated.
Remind me not to go on Scaffidi's show. I'm going to be grilled.
Somebody get me a coffee.
And some firecracker shrimp. So here's what I would say. Because from the sports writer's lens, the people involved met the moment brilliantly. I would start with the 205,000 fans that were there, which were, again, I love the fact, as someone who is proud of his town, I love
proud of his town, man,
and proud of his state, that this is a local event. This is not a national event. It may be a national event in Nashville or Chicago or New York or LA or Las Vegas, but this is a local event this year. And I think Packers fans and Wisconsinites have done a phenomenal job of meeting that moment. Now, speaking of meeting the moment, Mark Murphy, who sometimes does not, or sometimes when he has a microphone in front of him, says things that if I was working in the building, I would prefer he didn't. I thought he was magnificent last night. I thought he hit the right notes. He built the excitement up to a crescendo. I thought Goody had the great line afterward to us about how I actually sent in a different name and he announced Matthew Golden on his own.
Yeah.
But I think the person who met the moment the greatest was Matthew Golden. Like, for him to make that walk and to build, and he doesn't know that he knows that there's going to be cheers when he comes out. He knows where the draft is. It's in Green Bay. There's no way he knew it was going to be to the fever pitch that it was. And he soaked it in, and his reaction was absolutely beautiful. From the jersey to the 3-2-1, go Pack, go, et cetera, et cetera. I thought it was great.
The Chicago Bears have just selected in the NFL draft. Real quick, Tundra Trio, how do we feel about the Bears? Not bad. The Bears have selected a wide receiver from Missouri. Luther Burden III goes to Chicago. Even more help for Caleb Williams, Jason.
Well, let's get John Anderson over here. Let's get the scouting report on the Missouri guy. Look, I don't know enough about Ryan Poles to this point to know if he's a good, great, mediocre, bad GM. Have invested in the number 1 overall pick and is viewed as a can't-miss prospect when he's coming out into the draft. You better give him all the pieces so he doesn't miss. And that's what they're doing.
Obviously, the symmetry was going back to 2002, Javon Walker picked in the first round. What's different now, that setting, this setting?
Well, I mean, first of all, obviously the draft is completely different. But to me, the biggest difference is when Javon Walker was drafted in 2002, the expectation for first round, or really any rookie wide receiver, was not very high for production right away. We were talking this morning about Marcus Colston for the Saints, who was a 7th round pick in the mid to early 2000s. And he was like a complete unicorn because he had a 1,000-yard season as a rookie and as a 7th round pick as a rookie. That doesn't happen. Now, these guys are so much better prepared because of the parallels between the college game and the NFL game. I'm not saying Matthew Golden is going to have a 1,000-yard season because, look, let's bask in how perfect everything was, and then we can get to, well, what does this guy have to do to be really good? Like, let's wait on that part of it. But overall, the chances are much better of him being able to hit the ground running and be productive.
You weren't covering the team when guys like Chewy had first started, and this was like a place to be threatened. Oh, shape up, otherwise we're going to send you to Green Bay. But I thought of that last night when, after we had kind of wrapped up and I was kind of reflecting on everything, just because, he was so excited to be drafted by Green Bay, but he told Strofe, just walking around Green Bay, yeah, this is a place I could call home. In the time that you've been in Green Bay, how much have things changed where now this organization and this is a destination, not just for fans, but also for players?
Yeah, I think it obviously is player dependent because the Tyreek Hills of the world not going to walk around with Strofe saying this is a place I can really see myself. Now, I will say that there's a lot of guys that they have brought in that are from, the typical college town, right? The Tuscaloosa. Not quite so much. I mean, maybe Athens, Georgia, right? Maybe. But the bottom line is that they do vet players. We talked about love of the game and the idea that there's guys that don't love the game but are good at it, so they play it as a means to an end. I do think that they want guys that view this as a place where they're not going to be miserable. Like Cam Ward would be miserable here, or he would have to go through some media training to figure out a way to lie about how miserable he actually is. I mean, he was honest. And look, I got no problem with that. Like, I take offense to it, but I understand why. Look, I was once a 24-year-old single guy in Green Bay, Wisconsin, too. That wasn't great. And the town is
half-price abs at Applebee's during happy hour, right?
Yes, Ryan Longwell and I.
That seemed unnecessary. What you got against Applebee's?
It's the old Ryan Longwell line that the best restaurant in town was an Applebee's when he left for the Vikings.
Once again, I asked you what you got against Applebee's.
2 for $20.
Just making a joke.
I've never been to an Applebee's.
Oh, my goodness. So, again, I make the Applebee's joke because when we got one in Beaver Dam and I lived in Horicon, that was a big deal.
So the restaurant game is much better.
Yeah.
But, look, I do still think that there are going to be guys that this is not their cup of tea. At the same time, with the way the offseason program has evolved, you're here for 6 months, and you're playing football. So even if you're not super happy, you can probably find your way to throw yourself into your work. And, hey, if you don't like there are guys that take the other approach and say, look, if I was in a bigger city, I'd spend way too much time doing the things that a 25-year-old guy does. And this forces me to go home and watch more film. Like, there's still things that first of all, you can get in trouble anywhere. But I think there's just the feeling of this is all about ball. And that's one of the reasons why they want guys that look at it that way.
We have a quarterback off the board to the New Orleans Saints at pick 40, and it's not Shedeur Sanders. It's Tyler Shaw. Wow. So now Jackson Dart and Tyler Shaw have both gone before Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 NFL Draft. If I told you that a month ago, you would have looked at me like I had 3 heads. And here we are in Green Bay, the site of the 2025 NFL Draft, through the first 40 picks, and Deion Sanders' kid is still on the board.
Mel Kiper's got to be losing his mind because he's been talking about him forever.
I'm surprised by that. Interesting. We inch closer and closer to the Packers pick, 15 picks away here in round 2. Go ahead, Gabe.
I've got one last question for Jason because I know you got to get going and you got to get inside so you can cover the Packers' second round pick.
Have an appearance in the Pier or
pick.
something? What do you got to go to?
How much do you think, because it seemed when Luke Getsy was here as the wide receivers coach, the guys really liked him, and he had different drills, and he just was really engaging. He's back. He's not the wide receivers coach, but how much do you think he's going to have a hand in the development of Matthew Golden?
So I don't want this to sound like I'm downplaying Luke Getsy. I do think that there is a hierarchy in the NFL, though, that a lot of times guys move one spot beyond where they should be. And I don't know that for certain. He went to 2 teams that were dysfunctional. So him trying to be an offensive coordinator in Chicago and Las Vegas, that's not exactly great situations, right? So maybe he is capable of being an effective offensive coordinator in the right situation. So I don't think it's fair to put him in that group. But I know this. His guys when he was the wide receivers coach and his guys when he was the quarterbacks coach really swore by him. Now, different than having Tom Clements as quarterbacks coach, right? And I think he was the right coach for Jordan at the right time. But when I look at Luke Getsy and the catching bricks and tennis balls and all that other stuff, you know who loved that? Davante Adams. You know who became the best wide receiver in the game for 3 years? Davante Adams. So if you can help Davante Adams, all these guys want from their position coaches is make me better. Understand me, understand what makes me tick, so you coach me in a way that's going to be constructive and make me better. And I do believe Luke Getsy will help them. And as a senior, I can't wait to talk to him. I'm a little, it was great to be with Matt LaFleur yesterday, but one of the things that I'm irritated by is we haven't talked to any of the coaches. Not the new ones, not the guys that have new roles, not the guys that are in the same roles. And I love talking to coaches. But I would like to ask Luke Getsy, so your title is Senior Offensive Assistant. What the hell do you do around here? Because I think it's going to be an opportunity for him to help the wide receivers, to help the quarterbacks, to really help in any space.
You are the best.
You should get to break or whatever it is you're going to do.
We don't have any more breaks.
I don't think we have breaks anymore.
Oh, so I can just get up and leave.
Yes. You can just get up and leave, but not before I say, Tundra Trio, please give it up for the 3-time Wisconsin Sports Radio leader, Jason Wilde. Thank you for your time, Jason. Very well
You're
done.
the worst. I mean, the worst. Not necessary. You're the worst.
But
I love you anyway.
That was better. People are drinking, I think, here at the Tundra Trio. It's ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night.
Really?
Presented by
What
American
gave that
Family
away?
Insurance.
What gave that away?
Is there all the booze piled up over there?
That might be.
Might be the booze.
A lot of options.
Yeah, a few options.
A lot of options tonight.
A few options here at the Tundra Trio.
The Bears, by the way, have traded pick number 41. So I completely forgot that they had 2 picks in the second round because this is still left over from when they traded the number 1 overall pick to the Panthers.
Wow.
This is the last pick of that deal that they had with Carolina. So that's why they have an extra second round
bandits in that trade.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, to get DJ Moore, to get Caleb Williams, and to get some additional compensation, absolutely absurd for the Chicago Bears.
I've got a Bears-related question.
Hit me.
So as I'm watching the Clay Matthews thing last night, I don't want to get too far off the sports stuff, but he says the Bears still suck, which most of us agree with. How do you think the Bears fandom ownership group took that?
I talked to a Bears fan today. He's known as Jim Rutledge, host of Jim Mad Molly on ESPN Madison. And he said that Packers fans are pathetic and they can't get the Bears out of their head. But I think we're just acknowledging the one true fact. Death, taxes, and the Bears still suck. That's all we're doing here.
That was like the worst moment if you were a Bears fan when that came out of his mouth. I mean, that was something else. I loved it, but
I was a little nervous where we were headed, but he landed the plane.
Yeah, he interjected a lot of things into that opening statement.
Yeah, he sure did. Yeah. And Mark Murphy injected several things into his soliloquy prior to drafting Matthew Golden. So it's in Green Bay. We do what we want, I guess.
If you're A, are a Packers legend, or B, are the reason that the NFL draft is in Green Bay. Yes, then you can do whatever you want.
I tend to agree with Jad. Just to recap what we've got going on here in the second round of the NFL draft, we are through 8 picks. We are a quarter of the way done with round number 2. 2 wide receivers have gone. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State drafted by the Texans. Luther Burden of Missouri drafted by the Bears. 2 running backs gone, each from Ohio State. Quinshawn Judkins is a Cleveland Brown. Travion Henderson is a New England Patriot. And a quarterback is gone, and his name is not Shedeur Sanders. That is Tyler Shaw, the last pick, going to New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints, by the way, have not drafted a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft since 1971. What were you doing in 1971?
1971, I was in Cudahy, Wisconsin, playing some basketball. I started to play football and said I don't like getting hit, so I only weighed about 140 pounds. I said, no, that's not happening. Living a good life.
How old were you?
I was born in 58. Do the math. My head hurts
13.
right now.
13.
I was 13. I was a teenager. Acne, the whole thing.
Oh, okay, good.
Shaggy head of hair, which is surprising looking at me now.
The Green Bay Packers hold on to pick 54.
Here we go.
Here in round number 2, we are on pick 42 now, as the Buffalo Bills have selected South Carolina defensive tackle T.J. Sanders.
So going back to Tyler Shuck, he is older than Brock Purdy.
Really?
By just a couple of months. But Brock Purdy is younger than the newest quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, which is why it's even more shocking that Shedeur Sanders did not go, and they decided to take an older quarterback in that situation. That's mind-boggling. Because we're talking about Brock Purdy getting a bunch of money this offseason.
How long has he been playing in the NFL?
Yeah, he's been 3 years.
God, it feels like 5 years. That's the amazing thing about some of these players. Like, that guy's how old?
Well, because you have the COVID year, and you're able to get a medical red shirt, and this is the last year I think you're really going to have to deal with that in terms of having that extra 5th year that everybody was guaranteed because of COVID. But still, I mean, it's unbelievable that you have somebody in this draft who goes and is is older than one of the quarterbacks who's about to get paid in the NFL.
Here's a question about age. How much does age matter? I mean, we've had great players that are very young. The Packers pride themselves on being the youngest team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Does that really matter? What does it accomplish?
So I would say age matters when you're looking at draft prospects, because are you a 24-year-old dominating against 18-year-olds in college because you're a little bit more physically mature than that 18, 19-year-old kid? So I think that's always something you have to factor in. And if you draft somebody who's younger, like when the Packers drafted Kenny Clark, he's one of the youngest players in the league when he came in, and because of that, he was able to kind of capitalize and get more contracts because he's looked at as this younger player. He hasn't fulfilled his potential. There's still so much that he can grow. And honestly, I think that's a big reason why the Bears ultimately went with Loveland, who's almost 2 years younger, a little less than, but almost 2 years younger than Tyler Warren, who went a couple of picks later at that tight end position. I think that factored in to the decision that the Bears ultimately made. Hey, let's take the 21-year-old versus the 23-year-old.
I guess my frustration is every year I hear them say they're the youngest team in the NFL, but, and again, not complaining about success because we've had a lot of regular season success, but what is that accomplishing beyond that? I guess that's at some point you need some veteran, serious leadership.
Well, I think the game plan all along, and Gabe, cut me off if you disagree, but I think the game plan all along for Goody, I think year one of the youth movement, which was now 2 years ago, Jordan Love's first season as the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, the goal was for him to develop into the veteran, into the leader. They wanted it to be Jordan Love's team, no veteran quarterback to back him up. He sat behind the veteran quarterback already. They wanted him to be the leader, him to be the vocal leader, him to be the captain of the team, and I think that is the philosophy they've stuck with. Now, to your point, would a guy over the age of 30 hurt this team? I don't think so, but I think Brian Gutekunst does. I'm not sure why that is. It's just if they are 30 or older, he wants no part of them unless you play kicker.
The only reason I say this is because at some point you're going to lose players. They're going to be around for their contract. They're going to leave. You have to have some senior leadership who's decided to stick around, wants to sign with this team, wants to see what's next for Jordan Love. If that doesn't happen, then we're talking about the same story every year. Again, not complaining about success, but I want the next level for this team because that's what they're expected to do.
And I think I think you're right that they were expecting this team to grow together. Like, you're not going to be the youngest team in the league forever, right? You have this core, and some of them you'll sign, re-sign. And they'll have decisions to make on Christian Watson, on Romeo Doubs, on guys like, 3/5 of the offensive line is going to be free agents. They're not going to, sign Tom and Walker and Sean Ryan. They're not going to do it all, but they'll have a core that they'll just be able to sign to some contract extensions. Go, hey, this is the core that we want to grow with, and these are going to be our veterans of when we get ready to compete. These are the guys we're going to lean on, and these are the guys, again, led by Jordan Love, that are going to be able to carry us to that next level.
Besides Jordan Love, who's the other leader?
I think you could look at a couple different places. I think Tucker Kraft is a guy that, especially at the end of last season, said he needed to step up his vocal leadership in that locker room. I think offensively he's one. Josh Jacobs is another. Defensively, I think that's why you bring in a guy like Xavier McKinney. right, to be the vocal leader in the defensive backfield. Up front, you've got a veteran in Kenny Clark, who you've obviously signed to a big deal. Those are the first names that come to mind for me, Gabe, if I'm missing any.
No, I mean, with Kenny, Kenny, I think, is one of those leaders defensively. Xavier McKinney, certainly one of those leaders defensively. And, I think Tucker Kraft is going to be one of those young guys that continues to grow. Because, you look at that offensive side, and Josh Jacobs is one of those guys now. But if you're talking about the future of the Green Bay Packers, 3 years from now, is Josh Jacobs going to be a Packer? I have no idea. Right?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I do too.
I doubt it at this point, but he's a veteran leader that people can learn from right now, and he's going to be one of those leaders in 2025.
That triggered a thought in my brain, Gabe, and I know it's something we discussed a little bit last night on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night. You were rocking with us, Alex Strofe, Gabe Neitzel, Steve Scafidi, hanging out with you just outside of Lambeau Field here at the beautiful Tundra Trio houses. I said tonight should be all about the defense. The Packers should focus on edge rusher. They should focus on cornerback. They should try to elevate Jeff Hafley's defense. But could it be a night where the Packers draft a running back?
Ooh. I don't think so. I still think, I understand that Marshawn Lloyd is one of the most unlucky rookies in NFL history,
yes,
because it wasn't just one injury, right? Like with Christian Watts, it was a hamstring when he was young and he was a rookie. And you see that from time to time where, soft tissue. But no, for him it was an ankle, and it was a hammy. And then it's you need an emergency appendectomy, and now you're out for the season, right? Like, so he had a lot of unfortunate luck. I'm guessing that the 7 carries that they saw him have in game situations, 1 in preseason, 6 in the regular season, didn't convince Goody and Matt LaFleur that, this guy can't play. So I'm guessing that he is still going to have every opportunity to be that guy, and they're not going to want to overstimulate that room and just overbook it. Because I think they like Emmanuel Wilson, and he can be that third running back. But I don't see them, unless there's just somebody that they just absolutely cannot pass on, which, again, I doubt, because we've seen a little bit of a run on running backs now. So I doubt that guy exists. I don't think they take a running back.
That'd be like taking another receiver in the next few picks. I don't see that happening.
I don't know about that, because I think
what's the difference?
When you look at the running back room, to Gabe's point, right, they seem pretty comfortable in the position they're in. Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, and the other two, Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks more of a fullback, but still fits in that room. But they're comfortable with that room. But is Josh Jacobs going to be a Packer forever? The answer is no. Will he be a Packer next year? And I mean 2026. I can't say yes definitively.
Yes, maybe, no.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
It's like we're playing yes or no from Green Bay Game Day right now. I think it's a maybe in 2026. So if they like Marshawn Lloyd, great. But if they bring in another rookie running back to compete with Marshawn Lloyd for that backup job behind Josh Jacobs, this Green Bay offense is one that wants to pound the rock. And as good as Josh Jacobs was last year for them, I don't think they'd mind a reliable second option. So I'm not saying here at pick 54 the Packers should necessarily go running back, but would I be surprised if by the end of the night in round 3 that the Packers drafted a running back? I wouldn't be shocked.
Do they want to pound the rock, though?
Well, they got 2 big stud tight ends. They got great running backs, and you got a great offensive line. Run. And you got the threat of now we got a deep threat. There's a lot of good things on offense. That's why when you started talking about this, defense is now where you have to go.
I think so, too. I think so, too. But we'll see.
I don't know if philosophically Matt LaFleur wants to run the football. Now, he showed the sign of being a good coach, because a good coach, and this is what I think always separated Bill Belichick from a lot of different coaches, because a lot of coaches go, this is our stuff. This is how we run it. And if your personnel doesn't fit, that's how you get fired. Bill Belichick reinvented himself so many different times because, these are the type of players that we have. Okay, this is what we're going to do, because he was smart enough to be able to use those pieces. Matt LaFleur last year did something that I don't know if the Packers have ever really done in terms of under Matt LaFleur. They've been pretty pass heavy, and understandably, most of that was Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to be pass heavy when you have a 4-time MVP, future Hall of Famer. But they weren't particularly run heavy with Aaron Jones. But after the injury to Jordan Love, after nobody really stepped up at wide receiver, after Josh Jacobs showed that he could really carry the load after dealing with some injuries in Vegas, he was smart enough to go, hey, This is how we win this year, and it's by running the football.
Let me ask it a different way. We saw what the Eagles did. They were a tough team, destroyed the Chiefs. Is Matt LaFleur, does he want to be a tough coach or a finesse coach in what he does?
I don't think he necessarily radiates toughness, but I don't.
He doesn't to me.
I don't necessarily mean that as a knock either, right? Tough coaches don't always win the Super Bowl.
Well, because again, if you think of a tough, like in terms of tough Packer coaches, I mean the most recent one's probably Holmgren, right? But he was also a tall, like intimidating type of person. Like Mark Chmura, to this day, is still scared of Mike Holmgren. He just is. He's a in his mid-50s.
Who's like the nicest guy in the world, by the way.
Oh yeah. But and we had him on during COVID, and he was so thrilled to talk to Chewy, but Chewy is still scared of him to this day because he was an intimidating presence. But that doesn't mean you can't coach toughness into your players, because I think the Packers were a tough team last year, especially offensively.
Agreed.
Because when you think toughness, you think running the football and being physical running the football. Like Aaron Jones was a finesse runner, and he was the home run hitter. I don't think toughness there. And no knock on Aaron Jones because he is tough. Certainly had to deal with injuries. But when you think toughness for a team, I just think 60s football, run it between the tackles.
No.
The black and blue division. And that's kind of what the Packers were last year.
Let me answer my own question. You got to be a bit of both in this league at this time. You have to do both great. And if you want to be that next level playoff team, that's what's required. Tough when you need it, on defense especially.
I believe the late American rapper Speaker Knockers once said, flexing and finessing. That's what you want out of the Green Bay Packers. I didn't think I'd be dropping a Speaker Knockers reference tonight that went over the head of just about everybody in the Tundra Trio.
Well, everybody's drinking. You know how that works.
Yeah, that's fair. You know who Speaker Knockers is?
No.
Gabe, I assume you don't either?
Do you know what Speaker Knockers is?
Whomst?
The late American rapper. Flexing and finessing.
Cool.
You lost me at rapper.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Let's throw it out there. Tough and finesse.
I actually was thinking about crafting a draft rap for it, but I didn't have enough energy to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Trust me, I don't have any rhymes to go with any of that.
A couple of draft updates. Mason Taylor, a tight end at LSU, goes to the Jets at 42. Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas, goes 43 to the 49ers as we close into just 11 picks away for the Green Bay Packers.
11 picks, so that's going to be about an hour or so, right?
About an hour or so.
Yeah.
And we'll take a little break at some point before the Packers pick, and then we'll be back for the Packers pick, and we will react all to it. But I just got to sing a little bit. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Stay draft ready with Tequila Mi Campo, made for Wisconsin, made for those who live louder. Just like the excitement of the draft here in Green Bay, Mi Campo delivers that same bold energy and anticipation with every sip, made with 100% Blue Weber agave and aged in wine barrels for incredibly smooth taste. Please enjoy responsibly. 2025 imported by Mi Campo Spirits, Canandaigua, New York. Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume. Gabe Neitzel, Steve Scafidi, Alex Strofe hanging out with you at the Tundra Trio live at the 2025 NFL Draft.
I'm just seeing the pictures again. Rain stopped, and the crowd is now just like it was. Maybe not as big, but they're filling that area again, which you got to love. In Green Bay, Wisconsin. Second night of the draft. I'm excited about it.
And I mean, some of the numbers I was seeing before the draft, like, probably 250,000 total. To get 205 last night. To get within 50,000 of the estimated total on night one is outrageous.
I had buddies from California who were texting me saying, "Are you there?" I go, "I'm standing right in the middle of that." It's insane that in a city of, 105,000 people,
105,
that many people showed up. I love this town. I don't live here. I've never lived here. Ooh.
No, don't apologize.
That's a good fan there.
Be proud of your town, would you?
Yes,
yeah,
I love that.
Some Green Bay love back here. Look, you're absolutely right. Like, I grew up here. I grew up on the east side of Green Bay, so I've been looking forward to this day for 2 years. And
what high school did you go to?
I went to Denmark High School, but I was supposed to go to Preble.
Denmark. That's a small town north of here.
South of here.
Yeah.
South of here. Yeah, you drive past on your way up.
That's right. Like a gas station and maybe a couple of bars.
That's about it, yeah. Maybe a couple churches,
a lot of great
too.
farmers.
And a lot of farmers. You're right about that. What do you know about Denmark?
That there's something rotten in it.
Oh, well played. Well played, Gabe Neitzel. There's more than sports to this gentleman right here. Trust me.
So while you're making rapper references, I'm making Shakespeare references over here.
We did a Shakespeare quiz on my show. Well, Kristen did it to me. I didn't know one bit of Shakespeare at all.
Did you know
Other
that
than
one?
Romeo and Juliet.
I have disappointing news for myself as Donovan Ezaraku, the edge rusher last year winning the trophy for the nation's best edge rusher, was just drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, I believe.
I wonder if there's going to be a run here because we still, Mike Green from Marshall is still yet to go. And I know he was over for the Beast over at the Athletic, and what Dane Brugler put together was, I think, the fourth best pass rusher on his board. So he's still out there. And I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a run on these pass rushers before we get to the Packers pick at 54.
That is a guy who intrigued me for two obvious reasons. Number one, I just mentioned he won the award for the nation's best defensive end last year. Number two, he played for Jeff Hafley at Boston College. So that was a guy I was hoping would fall to pick 54. Unfortunately, goes at pick 44 as the commissioner heads back to the stage here in Green Bay. For the select, actually, the commissioner isn't making the picks tonight, is he?
No.
We have all guest readers tonight?
I mean, you thought Jonathan Taylor looked like the commissioner? Because that's who's making the pick right now for the Colts.
They could be brothers. They look
Speaking of the commissioner, were you watching last night? He had back surgery last year. When these players,
why do you know that?
I just know. I know someone that knows him.
You got medical records on Roger Goodell or what?
So he had back surgery. These guys are bear hugging him like they're 300 pounds, flinging him around like a sack of potatoes. That can't be good for that back.
Gabe
He's almost my age.
Gabe was not lying. We might be going on a run of edge rushers.
How about that?
As how do you say that name?
I believe it's
Tumalua.
One more time?
Yeah. Tumalua.
JT Tumalua, the edge rusher from Ohio State, just went. That's 2 in a row now. And the Packers obviously have a need there, and they still have 9 picks to wait or 8 picks to wait before their pick coming up. This is the 23rd in the second round, but the 54th pick overall, the 22nd in the second round.
I mean, so you take a look at the Rams, the Cardinals, the Raiders, Bengals. I mean, these are a lot of teams that could use edge.
Should they trade up?
I don't think the Packers would trade up. I mean, I think there's a more likelihood that there's a run, they miss out on the run, and they tried to trade back. I think that seems more likely to me, just because, again, you look at some of the prices that some of these teams paid to move up, and I don't think Goody wants to be without that third-round pick.
It always makes me giggle when Packers outgoing president and CEO Mark Murphy has a microphone. Mark Murphy joined Kay Adams on Up and Adams today, and he was not asked for a prediction. He was asked what's going on in Green Bay this weekend. And Mark Murphy, God bless him, said, well, I think we're going to trade up once and trade back twice. Just unprompted giving a prediction, and obviously Mark Murphy knows a thing or two about what goes on in the Packers war room. So he's just letting it fly. Hey, I think we're going to trade up once, we're going to trade back twice.
Here's the thing about Mark Murphy, because I've worked with him. I did PR for the Packers for a few years for a contracted company. He's a lot smarter than you think he is. He's very, very intelligent, and he's obviously got...
Just look on the other side of the stadium.
Yeah.
For proof of how smart and how business savvy he is.
He's known as a smart man in the business world. I just don't know in the PR world if he is.
I know that maybe some of the other franchises don't respect him like they do some of these other cocky owners. He's as good as it gets, and he's one of the big reasons why this is happening, why this team is so successful in a model. This could have been an epic failure in the 70s. Obviously, we know what happened after that. But he came in and sort of recharged things again. And the guy's a brilliant businessman on top of everything else he does. And oh, by the way, he was an all-pro player. I got a lot of respect for that. I respect the man that he is. And anybody that criticizes Mark Murphy, I don't buy into it at all.
I think as much as we poke fun at Mark Murphy, you are 100% correct. The reason we are all gathered here right now is because of Mark Murphy. The reason the draft is behind us is because of Mark Murphy. The reason the Packers, to your point, have been so successful during his tenure is partially because of Mark Murphy. The reason Matt LaFleur is the head coach of the Green Bay Packers is because of Mark Murphy.
He just likes to put his foot in his mouth from time to time. That's, I mean, again, that's
in his
all
defense,
it is.
so do I.
It's entertaining. Like the positives way outweigh the negatives. I mean, do I think that he's got a pretty big ego? Yeah, but you have to have a pretty big ego to make it as far as he does. Like the 20-minute soliloquy he gave before introducing Matt LaFleur as the head coach was a little awkward when he decided to do that.
I didn't say he was a brilliant orator. I said he's a brilliant businessman.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again,
Yeah.
and just first of all, look at the stadium.
Absolutely.
And everything that's been added to the stadium and everything that's over in the Titletown district that was necessary in order for the draft to come here. But, I mean, that's really all it is. Like, so he misspeaks every once in a while. We get to make fun of him. Like he hasn't made any actual missteps outside of, maybe when you're going through a thing with Aaron Rodgers and you say, hey, maybe, we shouldn't say things publicly, and then you say something publicly with a microphone like 2 days later, it's not the best.
Let me take it back to the field. Who's more important, Brian Gutekunst or Matt LaFleur? Who's more important for this team?
Than Matt LaFleur?
Brian Gutekunst or Matt LaFleur? Who is more important to the success of this team? And I judge success by getting to the Super Bowl.
Obviously, in order to get to a Super Bowl, they both need to be important.
I would say right now, Matt LaFleur.
Why?
I was leaning the other way.
If this iteration,
As was I.
and this and if this combination is going to get to a Super Bowl, it's going to be because Jordan Love is elevated. Like, Love is already on the team. The work's already been done by Brian Gutekunst to get him on the team, and now it's up to Matt LaFleur to get him to a spot where he can consistently play at that high level that is required to make a Super Bowl run, to win the division, to have home playoff games inside of beautiful Lambeau Field.
The reason I say Brian Gutekunst is same thing, Jordan Love. That pick only is a great pick if he turns out to be a Super Bowl quarterback. Matt LaFleur can only work with what he has.
Correct.
So you can't make him a Super Bowl quarterback if he's never going to be one. Brian Gutekunst has to have the assessment skills and all the DNA of being that job, that role for the Packers that makes that possible.
Well, and again, this is why it's a fun conversation. I mean, and it's what, I'm sure Patriots fans still do when it comes to Brady and Belichick. Like, who deserves most of the credit for all that success that they had in New England? Because, I mean, having those two be in lockstep, which at times I wonder if they are, it seemed like they were certainly last night, which is great. But I am such a believer of being the product of your environment in the NFL. There are certain players that are always going to rise to the occasion and just be good and great no matter where they are. Like, for example, Reggie White was that. I mean, Reggie White was great at Tennessee. He was great for the Memphis Showboats. He was great for the Eagles, great for the Packers. Like, everywhere he went, he was just going to be great. Teams weren't always necessarily great, but he was always going to be great. Brett Favre, on the other hand, was on his way out of the league. Literally was drinking himself out of the league because his head coach did not believe in him in Atlanta. Thought he was a sideshow. Third-string quarterback. Hey, Mississippi, come over here and throw into the third deck. Show everybody what you can do. And it took Ron Wolf, believing in Brett and making what we would have called a boneheaded move at the time, if sports talk radio was as prevalent in 1992, because he traded a first-round pick for someone who was just a second-round pick the year before and was a third-string quarterback. So it takes the guts of that, but also you then need the coaching of Mike Holmgren. Like, you needed both of those guys there in order for Brett to become the historically great quarterback that he eventually became. So
giving high fives on the stage right now.
So, like, it's a fascinating thing, but because it honestly is going to take both if they're ever going to make another Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a given. You have to have both. But case in point, we watched I think it was the Bears game at the end of the season. I saw Matt LaFleur make horrific decisions, coaching decisions in that game. If he's as good as it takes to get to the Super Bowl, how does he make those decisions in a game against a big rival of ours just to the south? So that's what bothered me about that.
I hope I'm not betraying Blue's confidence with this.
Uh-oh.
Well, I don't think he said anything like defamatory or anything. But I can't remember who was on stage yesterday, and I was standing right next to him. It might have been LaFleur when he was on stage here at the Tundra Trio. And he was just talking about, when LaFleur initially came in, he had a veteran team. he had Aaron Rodgers. So, like, simple things like, oh, they're running the 2-minute drill, like, oh, Aaron's going to take care of it, they're going to clock this, and it's going to be fine. And then when you now have, for the last 2 years, the youngest team in the league, you got to be on the headset. Oh, hey, you got to clock it. Instead of looking over what play you want to have next, you're distracted with something else, right? And with the way that Bears game played out, Jordan gets hurt, you've got Malik in there, things just kind of get out of hand. I ultimately think that this team's going to get to a point, because LaFleur has to coach differently with the young team versus the veteran team. I trust LaFleur to be able to get to the point where he has to be, where he's not making those strange, because they were strange decisions, like weird clock management that led to a loss that should have never happened.
You have more trust in him than I do, and I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's a really good coach, but I don't know if he's a great coach. He's had some good talent.
Which is fair. He hasn't proven that yet.
He's had great moments, but has he put it all together? No. Has he had mistakes in the biggest moments? Absolutely. Without a doubt, 100%. So when it comes to Matt LaFleur and the development of Jordan Love and the development of this offense and getting them to a championship level, I think everything Gabe said is 100% spot on. But when it comes to this offense's development, a very big decision was made last night, especially when we're thinking of the immediate impact. Well, with the drafting of Matthew Golden, that gives Jordan Love more ammo offensively. Now, you're right, it's on Matt LaFleur to make sure the ammo is utilized correctly. But Brian Gutekunst said at the end of the year, it's time to kick up the urgency. It's time to start competing for championships.
But he wasn't talking about himself, which he has since said.
No.
Which he has since said.
Which I understand that, but he's also making the moves that indicate he does believe what he was saying when he said that they should start competing for championships. As Will Johnson just goes off the board here at 47, one of the top cornerbacks in this draft that slid quite a bit into the middle of the second round, he was probably the best player available at pick 23 last night, or one of them. There was obviously other really good players available at 23, but he went with the fourth receiver taken in the draft instead. And that signals to me he realizes how much Jordan Love needs another reliable target.
I'm really curious, what do you have done if Harmon from Oregon was on the board?
I agree.
Because from my understanding, Goody also really liked him, and he went just a couple picks before. He goes 21 to the Steelers. So I think that's a nice narrative to be like, oh, clearly we've all been talking about all offseason, number one receiver. They need a receiver. They need that. And the board fell away that they ultimately got that. But I wonder if a different position was there with a player he liked, if it would have been that. But that's the fun part of the draft.
How much does the Golden pick now change the Watson story? Obviously, it gives him more time.
Well, I think the Watson story is pretty much coming to a conclusion, at least in Green Bay.
I mean, you're saying he's gone.
Jim.
So this is the final year of his contract.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a second-round pick, no fifth-year option.
I think
coming off a torn ACL.
If I had to place a bet between Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs being on the roster in 2026, I'm betting on Watson.
I would also bet Watson, but you didn't give me an option of neither.
Well, okay, so what's more likely? Watson or neither?
In 2026?
Yeah.
I think it's Watson.
Okay.
Between the two of them.
Well, no, Watson or neither is the choice.
Oh, excuse me. Neither.
Watson.
Neither.
So I think everybody agrees. Like Romeo Doubs, with what he pulled last year,
I think
it's
his
going to
time
be
is
really.
coming to an
I
end,
can't imagine what you would have to do to get the trust of the coaching staff and the front office back when you literally quit on your team in the middle of the season. And look, his teammates had his back, which was great. It was great to see because they knew that they needed him to try to be productive last year in order to have success. I don't think that's necessarily the case, especially after this draft pick this year. So I'm curious to see if he pouts again with somebody who's going to be competing for reps with him. But I think after that pretty much, okay, Romeo Doubs isn't going to be around after this rookie deal. Christian Watson, on the other hand, I think could be had on a reasonable deal coming off of a major injury and only playing roughly half of a season.
When healthy, hell of a player to watch, and I've watched him a ton of times here. He's an interesting player, dynamic, makes some incredible catches, obviously has the speed, stretches the field, all that stuff, but you got to stay on the field. And we talk about this all the time with Jair Alexander, man. Dude, you're fun to watch, but you got to play. This is the NFL. We're not here to talk about injuries all the time. That's what drives me nuts sometimes about this team.
Availability is the best ability, isn't that what they say?
And maybe it's the lack of sleep. But I've been daydreaming about just the speed of Watson and Golden on the field at the same time. And maybe it's just wishful thinking of me wanting it for more than potentially 8 games, 7 games, whatever it ends up being that Christian Watson plays this year.
Is that what you daydream about? I daydream about a beach in Sicily.
Oh, no, I also daydream about the Green Bay Packers. Roster construction, baby. That's all that's going on in these two brains.
How much time do you guys spend breaking down the roster on your own, not on the show, on your own? Looking at the roster.
17 hours a day, 365 days a year.
That's like politics. How much time, Steve, do you spend talking about researching politics? Once you know it, you kind of know it. You just add in the new players every once in a while. That's the magic.
You're also thinking about, okay, what's going to happen at left tackle? How's Elton Jenkins going to do at center? Are they going to rethink that decision, right? I think about that. I think about cornerback room with Carrington Valentine, who we had here at the Tundra Trio earlier today.
Look, Steve, on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, we've got 10 hours to fill every week, and we talk about Packers and nonsense. So I got to be thinking about this roster quite a bit to fill those 10 hours.
I forgot about your strategy.
And the other hours that he's not spending sleeping or thinking about the Packers, he's thinking about the nonsense.
Yeah, an interesting tidbit when I was talking to my boss about what our theme was, it was politics and nonsense. I lost that argument. It's just politics, basically, which nobody cares about.
Well, but the nonsense is, for us, I would say on our show, it ends up being Chewy is not a relatable person.
I relate to Chewy.
But no, like from a sense of, if you think of Mark Chmura, 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, that's not relatable. However, Mark Chmura is like the most everyday man. Like, he's super relatable, has a lot of, despite having 3 houses and all these, he has like weird everyday problems that people can connect to.
Bitching about landscaping, this cost me this. Why is that guy at my house? I love those stories.
Yeah. Why is this guy at my house? Why is this service this bad, right? Like, he has a lot of observations, and that's the nonsense. It's the everyday man stuff.
Here's what my wife asked me once when I said, I see Chew every morning. She goes, is he happy? I go, I don't know. If you listen to his show, he's sort of happy sometimes, but then he's complaining about things.
He's very when he gets to complain, Steve, he's his happiest. Yeah. When he's got something that he can just really bitch and moan about, he's at his happiest. That's when Chewy just is peak nirvana.
It's where he thrives. We are 5 picks away from the Green Bay Packers, at least what is scheduled to be their selection at pick 54. As an offensive tackle comes off the board here out of Minnesota for the Houston Texans at pick 48. We are on to pick 49 with the Cincinnati Bengals. As we continue to narrow it down and see what options are available, Gabe, anybody sticking out to you where you go, oh boy, if they're there at 54, you better snap them up?
All right, roster breaker downer. What do you got?
I like Nick Scorton, who is edge rusher out of Texas A&M, 5 sacks this last year, has had some production, isn't the physical freak that Shamar Stewart was. But he was the guy that I would use because a lot of times when you have the physical freak who doesn't have the production, you're trying to figure out, okay, why didn't he have the production? And the reason why I was so far out on Shamar Stewart is because sometimes it's, defensively, they're not really asking you to get after the quarterback because a lot of teams in their conference just get rid of the football, so they're asking you to do different things along the defensive line. But when you have somebody who has production on that same defensive line, that's why I was out on him, and I'm curious to see. Scourton is somebody who can go in the 2nd round, 3rd round. It's a position they need, and if he's got a couple of different moves as a pass rusher, I want to see him in green and gold do that.
So you think pass rusher in his next?
I think pass rusher.
Right.
I think Will Johnson.
I think that's right.
Was again somebody that they would be targeting. Maxwell Hairston went off the board yesterday. That was, I know, a name that was kind of linked to the Packers as well. I don't see a cornerback that I particularly like. So as we get closer and closer, and now we're on pick number 50 after Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker out of South Carolina, goes to the Bengals. Shockingly, Bengals go with defense.
Oh, wow. Spoiler alert.
I'm really curious to see if he's going to be there for the Packers coming up here shortly.
Just a couple of picks away. We all sit and wait Anticipation killing us as we wait for pick 54 for the Green Bay Packers. Alex Stroh, Steve Scafidi, Gabe Neitzel hanging out with you live from the Tundra Trio in Green Bay, just outside of Lambeau Field here on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, which is presented by American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. With American Family Insurance, you can find your local agent at amfam.com. Steve, we've talked about it quite a bit tonight, but it feels like this should be the defensive day for the Green Bay Packers after going with a receiver yesterday.
I want defense. I want a better defense. And whatever we got to do to get there. So I like the fact that this team seems motivated to go to the next level. We've talked a lot about, Gutekunst challenging them, the roster. We heard Josh Jacobs, remember when he got everybody fired up? So that's sort of this challenge. I don't know if I've heard Matt LaFleur speak to that yet. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. Will he probably be the expert on that? But so can this defense step to the next level? Can they be an Eagles defense? Well, that's a big ask. Can they be a Bears defense? The Bears suck, but their defense is pretty good. I've said for years, if we had that defense, we'd have a lot more of those Lombardi trophies that we'd love to talk about.
Yeah, you're not lying. I think if Aaron Rodgers had a defense through the 2010s, there might be a few trophies in that trophy case.
Yeah.
So a couple other names. So Siobhan Revel is still out there. He's somebody they brought in as a visit. And taking a look at some of the other names, a defensive lineman that they brought in, not an edge rusher, but more of an edge rusher, Jordan Birch out of Oregon. Birch is still there as well. So we know that for Brian Gutekunst, those 30 visits that he has, bringing prospects into Green Bay, are a nice indicator of people he is actually invested in. Matthew Golden was one of those guys. Edgerrin Cooper last year was one of those guys, among many others. So I think those are also two names to kind of keep an eye on here.
Can I say here right now? I want to call him Matty Gold. Matty Gold.
Matty Gold for Matthew Golden?
Yeah, Matty Gold.
All right, Tundra Trio, I need your help.
Matty Gold.
Need your help, Tundra Trio. Matthew Golden, the newest member of the Green Bay Packers. Steve Scafidi pitching the idea of the nickname Matty Gold. Are you for Matty Gold or are you against Matty Gold? For? Raise your hand. Okay, we've got some Matty Gold supporters.
Like it. Yeah.
How about no Matty Gold? Raise your hand.
I think I won that.
I think you might have won.
You won.
Matty Gold. Matty Gold. Matty Gold. Matty Gold. All right, he's got a new nickname, I guess.
What's his number going to be?
2, maybe?
Ooh, that'd be good. I like the low numbers.
I mean, you would have to get it from Malik.
That's true.
What? I'm sorry?
What's that?
I didn't hear what you said.
Malik would have to give it up.
Oh, Malik Willis does wear 2.
How long
Sean Clifford's given up his jersey number 3 seasons in a row, so I'm never going to say it's impossible.
What does that feel like? Whatever.
That means you're definitely one of the last guys on the roster, is what that means.
We got a suggestion of 81. Oh, he is 81. They announced that today. He's 81.
How about that fan with all that knowledge? What's your first name? Matt.
Matty Gold.
Matty Gold.
Matty Gold is here in the flesh. What's up, Matty Gold? Not actually. I'm just kidding.
That was a magic moment there for Matt and I. I don't know if you sensed that. Did you get that? Yeah, I got it. It was good. I love that when that happened. When we connect like that. Someday, Alex, when you're older, you'll have those moments.
Thanks, Steve. Make me feel good about myself.
I shut it down just by saying a nice, tender thought like that. What is that about?
The pick is in at pick number 50 for the Seattle Seahawks. We have 4 selections to go before the Green Bay Packers are on the clock. I'm excited for this pick.
I am too.
Because, look, I mean, when you think about what the Packers have been able to do in the second round in recent years, it's been contributors. Edgerrin Cooper was a second-round pick last year.
Jaden Reed was a second-round pick the year before.
Look at you guys. That's
was
great
Luke
examples.
Musgrave, right? He was a second-round pick that year?
He was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Who was a heavy contributor until the injury halfway through.
A.J. Dillon was a second-round pick and an all-right one at one point.
Yeah.
But that failed.
His rookie year was good, and then it just kind of started to taper off.
But a nice guy.
Just a very nice guy.
Nice guy.
Very big fan of this community, I've heard.
Yes, and Door County.
And then he signed with the team that ended their season, the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right.
So
we're only like 20 minutes away from our pick.
Maybe even less than that.
Oh, how about that?
Here on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night.
People are having a good time here tonight. I can tell that.
Yeah, they're cruising. We're about halfway through we're just over halfway through the second round. We are an hour and 30 minutes on the dot into this thing.
We only got 6 more hours to go.
So that tells us we'll be done around midnight.
Yeah, that's good. All right.
Is that a you suggested Matty Gold Zone if he is a red zone threat?
See, the fans are working with me on this.
Okay, Matty Gold Zone.
Matty
we might
Gold
be
Zone.
onto something. How many nicknames can Steve Scafidi come up with tonight? That is going to be something we have to keep our eye on.
If I
here
start
in Green
drinking,
Bay.
I'll come up with a lot of them, but I'm not drinking tonight, so.
Okay, you're taking the night off?
I took the weekend off, actually.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. Well, it's work.
Yeah, I can't have a picture of a cheesehead floating around to you.
No. Maybe I'll post that tonight on social media. You can all see what it looks like.
I thought you hated the picture.
I don't like the picture, but people want to know what it looks like, so I'm gonna accommodate.
You got to give the people what they want.
Absolutely.
General
I'm a man of the people.
You are a man of the people.
Yes.
The tight end run has been rolling here in round number
very
2.
interesting with
As
Elijah Arroyo.
goes off the board there at pick 50 of the Seattle Seahawks. The Carolina Panthers now on the clock after picking, I think, a guy a lot of Packers fans would have liked to fold to 23 last night in Teteroa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. Carolina Panthers now on the clock at pick 51. Tennessee with pick 52. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with pick 53. And the Green Bay Packers are whatever comes out after in the hole in baseball.
They're just hanging out in the dugout right now.
Okay, just hanging in the dugout.
There's no phrase for that.
They're just stretching just in case the Carolina Panthers pick quickly, but their clock dwindling as they get under 4 minutes left here on the clock. This might be corner time.
Again, Siobhan Revel is there. There are a couple of corners that the Packers have been linked to, have shown interest in. You got to get there first. Got to survive 3 more picks if Revel is going to be the
There's
pick.
only been one cornerback drafted in the second round, and that's Will Johnson of Michigan, who many projected as a first-round pick. So I wouldn't be shocked if maybe the Packers get in on a run, if some corners start falling off here in the next couple of picks, or if they start the run at pick 54 with a guy like Siobhan Revel Jr., who, as you mentioned, Gabe, went on a top 30 visit with the Green Bay Packers.
How would you feel about offensive line?
Not the next pick.
I don't know that I'd want to spend a second-round pick on an offensive lineman, given that they've had so much success in the middle rounds over the years when there are obvious needs. But as we've talked about extensively over the course of the last couple days, I thought there was a realistic possibility the Packers were going to go offensive line in the first round. Well, so I wouldn't be shocked by it. I wouldn't vote for it if I was in the war
I would
room.
be surprised at this point. I mean, Josh Simmons was the only high-end, first, second, third-round guy that they had in on visits, and he's already gone off the board. So I guess I would be shocked by offensive line, at least at this point in the draft.
Well, here's the thing. Outside of quarterback, kicker, long snapper, and punter, I don't know that I'd be surprised by much. Safety, maybe, I would be surprised by here at 54.
Yeah, that would be shocking.
Linebacker, I'd be a little bit
there goes
surprised.
Scorton.
Given the names on the list, and Nick Scorton, the edge rusher of Texas A&M, goes at pick 51 to the Carolina Panthers, which means the Green Bay Packers are officially in the hole. 3 picks away from pick 54, and the Green Bay Packers, another edge rusher off the board here, which, to a point we were just making, Gabe, seeming more and more like maybe cornerback the option here at pick 54 for the Packers.
Damn it. Mike Green still out there as an edge rusher.
So let me just give you this information on Mike Green. As earlier today, I just got to stretch the legs, Gabe. Don't mind me. I'm just stretching the legs here for
Alex
a moment.
has a cramp,
just got to stretch it out. I've been sitting for an hour and a half. So Mike Green is a guy that Ian Fitzsimmons of ESPN Radio, a guy that's super plugged in on all things college football, said many teams have him, quote, in the box. And what that means, I learned what this meant earlier today. Many teams draw and handwrite their draft cards, right? These are the guys we've scouted extensively. These are the guys that we've looked at. These are the guys, this is what we know about them. If they draw a red box around that name, that means no chance. I do not want anything to do with that guy. And Ian Fitzsimmons confirmed with at least 3 active NFL general managers that Mike Green is in the box. So just take that for what it's worth.
All right.
So, I mean,
2 picks.
Then you go down to Jordan Birch, who is a pass rusher that they had in as well. If that could be a possibility when the Packers pick at 54. Pick number 52 is in for the Tennessee Titans.
Who's going to make the pick for the Packers? Do we know?
Another edge rusher. That's a name I'm not even going to try to announce. It's just the guy from UCLA.
Oluwafemi Oladejo?
That's where they just threw.
Hold on a minute.
Oh,
Steve.
wait a second.
One more time.
Oluwafemi Oladejo.
Wow. I think that's right. That's impressive.
Well, it's not that hard.
Just sound it out, right?
Yeah.
It's got to sound it out.
I just threw letters at the screen, and that was the guy's name.
Well, the Green Bay Packers now on deck with pick 54.
Are you
they await
glad that
the
that's not who they got?
Olawafemi Oladejo.
There you go.
Yeah, Oladejo's right. Yeah, absolutely.
The edge rusher from UCLA goes at pick 52 to the Tennessee Titans, meaning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock at pick 53. Now, I got to give a shout out, and I don't know if this guy is still here at the Tundra Trio, but I saw somebody walking around earlier, and I don't think he's here anymore, but I saw somebody walking around with a game-worn Luke Gedeke jersey, who is a starting offensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is a proud one-year member of the UW Stevens Point football team. He played tight end at Stevens Point. Transferred to Central Michigan, where he began playing offensive line. Was a second-round pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and is the pride of Valders, Wisconsin. So I was very impressed with the Luke Gedeke jersey, but I am not seeing it anymore here at the Tundra Trio.
Maybe you
as the Tampa
decided
Bay Buccaneers
to, head into the draft.
He probably went into the draft, yeah.
We are minutes away from the Packers pick.
Yeah, the Buccaneers pick is in.
We are just moments away from finding out who the host city is going to draft as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick is in here in Green Bay.
Birch or Revel, that's who I think.
This might be an
one of those two guys are going to be there. Birch or Revel for the Packers.
Birch or Revel.
Again, those are two guys that they had in, two guys that are still on the board. We'll have to see again. We have to wait for a commercial break on ESPN before we get the Buccaneers pick.
I just want to throw out there, Gabe, and we've referenced a lot, and maybe for those that aren't super aware or super hyper-focused on what a top 30 visit is. So each team is allowed 30 visits, essentially. I
don't know why they call it a top 30 visit.
I don't know why they call it top 30 either. Maybe, I don't get it, because it's not necessarily your top 30 prospects. It's 30 guys you want to do more research on. Do you have injury concerns? If you have character concerns, you just want to get to know the guy more, you bring him in for a visit. It can be a one-day visit. It can be a multi-day visit, like they did with Emeka Abuka of Ohio State, the wide receiver, who was off the board by pick 23 last night. So Brian Gutekunst has shown a repeated history of spending top 30 visits on guys that aren't projected to go until the third, fourth, fifth rounds. And typically when he visits with those guys, he ends up picking them. Just some notable names that have gone in the middle rounds that Brian Gutekunst has spent top 30 visits on. Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, Sean Clifford, actually, a top 30 visit. I just thought I'd throw that one
the big red dog
out there. Edrin Cooper, Catano Ladapo, Evan Williams last year, all top 30 visits. So just for the sake of what Gabe is saying, these top 30 visits are pretty indicative of what Goody has interest in, especially in the later rounds.
And it kind of gives you an idea of, again, I did not think that after Ted McMillan that for whatever reason they were going to be interested in another wide receiver. But, I mean, Matthew Golden, Emeka Abuka, Ted McMillan were all part of those visits this year. So you can kind of see, based on position, they had a lot of edge rushers in that are top guys that are already gone outside of Birch. But you kind of see, okay, here are some of the positions that they're really interested in and are doing a little extra homework by bringing these guys into Green Bay.
Gabe, just remind us, who are the two guys you said are on the board that they want to keep an eye on?
Birch and Revel.
Birch. I would throw one other name out there, too, is Trey Amos, the cornerback from Ole Miss.
Yep.
Trey Amos, another guy they've done extensive research on. It actually was reported last week the Green Bay Packers spent more time on Trey Amos than anybody else. So just a name to keep an eye on here. He's number 5 on Mel Kiper's best available list on ESPN.com. We can go ahead and rule out Shedeur Sanders at pick 54 for the Packers?
Yeah, go ahead. And
Maybe we shouldn't rule out that he's going to go at pick 54. We could just rule out it won't be to the Packers.
Correct.
Are they still showing those sad shots of wherever he was yesterday?
In his family's house.
It's always a bad look. It's always a bad look.
He was invited to the draft, if I'm not mistaken, and he declined the invite.
He's too big for the draft.
Man, still look at all those people.
No,
here
I think
tonight.
he realized, maybe I'll be sitting a while.
I don't know if you're seeing the shot. This is incredible.
I don't know if they cut off admission at Lambeau Field tonight, but it looks absolutely jam-packed once again at Lambeau Field as the community of Green Bay and the state of Wisconsin continues to show out here in Green Bay for the 2025 NFL Draft. We await the Buccaneers pick, and that will mean the Packers are on the clock. We are just moments away from finding out who the newest member of the Green Bay Packers will be.
I would not be shocked if the Packers pick is already in.
Oh, yeah.
Just because we had to pause. And again, this is what happens in these later rounds, especially right now, second round. You have different players announcing the picks. You want to get them on TV, and you start backlogging them a little bit because, well, guess what? ESPN still needs to take some commercial breaks.
That they do. The nice part about us, we don't.
Yeah.
We're sticking with you.
I don't know if that's a nice.
I'm going to need a bathroom break.
Yeah, I need a bathroom break.
What we're going to do, just to give you a heads up,
all right.
as the pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is announced by Simeon Rice, the 3-time Pro Bowl selection here in Green Bay. We will tell you what the pick is in just a moment. What we're going to do, though, we're going to listen to the pick live on ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to react to the pick for a while. Then we will take a short time out if you need to go to the bathroom, if we need to get some food, and then we will come back and prepare for round number 3.
Benjamin Morrison.
It is a cornerback. It is not any of the guys Gabe said, though. Benjamin Morrison, the corner out of Notre Dame, goes at pick 53 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to say the Green Bay Packers are on the clock.
Oh, yeah.
Here in round number 2. Behind us at Lambeau Field, Alex Stroh, Steve Scafidi, Gabe Neitzel hanging out with you live at the Tundra Trio. It feels like cornerback. It could be edge, and it could be a curveball. How's that for ruling stuff out?
Way to really narrow it down. That's fantastic analysis.
All right, let's go.
Maybe the Packers will win their opening game. Maybe they'll lose it.
Curveball, edge, cornerback. What are you taking?
I think it'll be a cornerback. I'm going to go with Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. That's
I'm going to say
my
edge,
guess.
edge rusher.
Revel. Cornerback.
So me and Gabe both say corner. Steve says edge. Mike Green is the best available player, but a lot of character concerns with him out of Marshall, the top-rated edge rusher. But he is an absolute beast of
sometimes
a
you need a
player
badass.
He's a great football player.
Yeah.
But some character concerns there, and that doesn't feel very Green Bay like.
6 minutes on the clock.
And the pick is in for the Green Bay Packers. So they will stay put at pick 54 and make a selection as they look to add on to what they have already accomplished. Yesterday, breaking a 23-year drought of not picking a wide receiver in the first round when they drafted Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden. And it looks like we have a little ceremony going on at the stage here in Green Bay.
Somebody who's going to the podium wearing a cheese head.
So yesterday I know they did. Obviously, we had the Mark Murphy soliloquy, and we had everything else going on. Looks like they're doing.
You can hear the crowd through this.
Oh yeah,
right
you sure
there.
can here in our backyard at the Tundra Trio. We will hear the roar once the pick is made, but we will, for you in the Tundra Trio, we will play for you the pick live, and it looks like it is what we just heard it.
Oh, there's a commit.
The roar from the crowd. So
Jordy Nelson. There he is.
Yeah, there's Jordy with a nice haircut for Jordy. And here we go. We are pumping in the ESPN audio for you here at the Tundra Trio. And Jordy Nelson going to make the pick here for the Green Bay Packers on stage at Lambeau Field. He's got a nice haircut now, Steve.
Jordy looks like he still could play.
He does.
Oh,
very
my
good
goodness.
man.
That's that farm strength.
And they are introducing some Boys and Girls Club members of Green Bay here as we just await to see what the Green Bay Packers do here at pick 54. But we know we will be picking at 54. Now, we obviously thought there was potential they could trade out of 54, but with the run on edge rushers and now on a run on cornerbacks, it seems like this isn't a smart decision.
You got to find a trade partner if that's something you want to do. And this is the meaty part of the draft. This is where a lot of teams, again, are just going to be fine going, hey, we probably have 3 or 4 or 5 guys that are available to us.
Anthony Belton, tackle, North Carolina.
Oh,
and they go offensive line.
Wow. We didn't pick that one.
Well, there you have it. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
So this is a guy they had in on a top 30 visit out of NC State. Now, what's interesting to me about this, so he's an offensive tackle. You're kind of locked up. You know what you have at guard, right? You're kicking down Elton Jenkins. Presumably Jordan Morgan is going to be one of those guards. You have Sean Ryan. You know Zach Tom. The only reason to draft an offensive lineman this high is if you believe, without the shadow of a doubt, he can play left tackle.
6'6", 336. That's some size.
He's got some size, but Gabe makes a really interesting point. Let's not forget what the Packers did in last year's first round. They drafted a guy they thought could play left tackle. They then tried him out and played him a bit at right guard. They've said this offseason that Jordan Morgan will compete for the left tackle job with Rasheed Walker on the final year of his deal. But now drafting Anthony Belton makes me think, how much belief do they have in last year's first round pick?
Well, I mean, maybe he's just more of a guard. They still believe in him. Like, he was one of their top 6 offensive linemen, and they were cool with him being in that rotation with Sean Ryan. And at times looked better than Sean Ryan until he had his injury. So I think that they're comfortable with him being an interior guy. But what did you say his size was, Steve?
6'6", 336.
That doesn't translate to guard.
No,
You're not sliding that guy down into a guard position.
That's this wall on the left side.
I mean, yeah, and he has to be, because Zach Tom is presumably somebody that you're going to pay money to this offseason.
It is by no means a sexy pick. Let's not get it twisted. A tackle in the second round, not a sexy pick.
I can't even think of a nickname for him.
Well, you can work on that. Anthony Belton. Yeah, we can work on that. But regardless of whether or not this is a fun pick or a pick that intrigues you or a pick that translates to winning, we know you can never have enough offensive linemen. This offseason, Brian Gutekunst goes out and signs Aaron Banks. They lost one guy in the NFC.
Yeah, that's the other guard you have. I forgot about Banks.
Right. The NFC wildcard game, though, you lose Elton Jenkins and things crumble in terms of the offensive line. I think Brian Gutekunst took notice to that in the wild card game and said, I can't let that happen again. I need more depth at the offensive line that I can trust. And with a 6'6", 330-pound frame, it seems like Anthony Belton going to be likely the rotational guard depth piece.
Well, but again, the left tackle of the future. Because for whatever reason, there's something that they don't like about Rasheed Walker. He's fine, but they keep trying to replace him. They keep going, we're going to draft this guy. We're going to draft it. They keep putting him in competitions. All he does is win those competitions, but he's somebody that is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. They're likely not going to give him money. So if Belton ends up being the rotational piece, great. Maybe this is a 7th offensive lineman you can trust and you feel good about the depth. Teams that have 7 offensive linemen that they feel like they can trust, that is a luxury in the NFL. And if that's what they feel like this guy can be, and then step into left tackle next year, it ends up being a win.
You add depth and you feel better about where your line is at, and that makes this team stronger because now you're protecting Jordan Love in a better way. And by the way, we just added a great receiver that you can throw to because he's got an extra step. It makes sense. It's not a sexy pick, but it's a smart pick.
Very funny to read the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat. Thanks for hanging with us here on ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night, presented by American Family Insurance. Alex Strofe, Steve Scafidi, Gabe Neitzel, hanging out with you in Green Bay. John says, back to boring picks from Goody. Z.
Well, but okay, sure. But offensive line's kind of important.
Oh, is it?
You saw the Chiefs' offensive line crumble in the Super Bowl. You got to protect Jordan. Is it sexy? No. Is he scoring touchdowns? No. But you need these guys on the team.
Flat smack on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channel with a similar diagnosis. We wasted a 2nd-round pick.
That's just dumb.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, come on. You gotta have a good offensive line.
It's not a waste if you found your left tackle of the future. It just makes me a little bit concerned about what they did in the 1st round last year. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now, this is one of those trust picks because everybody's going, who? Now we got to trust in Gutekunst. So he picked the guy that's the future.
This goes back to our earlier point before we get to Gabe's scouting report. He uses those top 30 visits. 1st-round pick, Matthew Golden. Top 30 visits, 2nd-round pick.
All right, from Dane Brugler's The Beast, you want the positives or the negatives first?
We always start with the negatives.
Below average body control is hard to miss. Weight transfer heavy on outside foot and slides, leaving him late to answer to inside counters. Inconsistent punch and coil resets to recover after missed-time strike. Hands get too wide in the run game. Penalized 8 times each of the last 3 seasons. Played the 2024 season at 360 pounds. Needs to maintain weight around 340. And he was ejected for spitting on Clemson player in September of 2024.
He's not just big, he's a big badass is what he is.
All right, here are the strengths.
Give me the strengths.
Yeah, let's go positive now. Let's end on a high note.
Blocks out Sun with massive size. Adequate lateral movement and relies on long arms to help protect the corner. Rushers meet hard resistance when attempting to test his anchor. Plays as powerfully as you would expect to push defenders where he wants. Washes defenders down on down blocks to create running room. Impressive foot speed on inside zone and blocks out defenders on screens. plays with edge and switch stays flipped on the field. Important to have him. Important to him to have the most pancakes each game. So obviously that was something that he prided himself on when he was in college. Actively searches for next victim when uncovered, and started 32 games at left tackle in the ACC.
It's a lot of starts.
Okay. Yeah, experienced. I like that. I like the size if he can maintain the 340, 330.
I was looking for kill the gator with his bare hands, but we didn't get that.
Oh, yeah, that's only in your strengths.
Yeah.
He's not a Big Ten offensive lineman. He was in the ACC.
All right. Gabe Neitzel, Steve Scafidi, Alex Strofe. We will be back with you shortly. We're going to take a quick time out here at the Tundra Trio. You can hang with us live, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. Steve's got to go potty. He's been kicking my leg for the last 10 minutes. We're going to grab a bite to eat. We'll be back with you and with you through the entirety of the draft tonight as the Packers still one more pick tonight coming up in the third round. So we will be back with you momentarily. In the meantime, grab a drink, watch the draft, have some fun, make a new friend, do all the in-between. It's ESPN Wisconsin Draft Night presented by American Family Insurance. around makes me wonder, what is going to happen with their offensive line in 2025? Who will play where? Who will compete for what spot? I just don't think, and maybe I'll be wrong on this, but I just don't view this guy as somebody that's not going to compete for that left tackle spot, given his size. Gabe pointed out earlier in our show that he just doesn't have the size to play guard or center. He's definitely an outside guy. We know right tackle is Zach Tom. Could left tackle be Anthony Belton? Could it be Jordan Morgan? Or will, like it was last year, it be Rasheed Walker? Just an interesting pick at the location in which they did it.
Given this pick, adding him to the current roster of offensive linemen, what grade do you give them for potential for next season?
For 2025?
Yeah. Given what the talent they have and what they just added so far.
I mean,
I say B.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a B because, I think it's tough to get an A at a position that's not going to necessarily contribute. But at the same time, you have to remember, general managers, despite us all going, oh, they need wide receiver, they need edge, they need corner, he's also looking at the roster from, okay, what else do we need in 26? What are we going to need in 27 because of the different, needs that you're going to have on the roster? And as we've pointed out, the offensive line in 2026, well, in 2025, especially after the addition of Aaron Banks, 2026, who knows? Because as much as I like Zach Tom, he's not under contract yet. I'm assuming they're going to pay him a boatload of money. But Sean Ryan has been in competitions just about every year. Same thing with Rasheed Walker on the left side. So 3 guys are free agents at the end of the year. You need a backfill. And if you find somebody you like in that second round, even if he can't beat out Rasheed Walker this year, maybe he's your guy for 2026.
So this is a preparing for the future pick more so than a right now pick.
But again, at the same time, as you pointed out earlier, Alex, when the offensive line injuries started to pile up against Philadelphia, that game was over. No chance of a comeback because they had to play Kadeem Telford at left guard.
If you look at the offensive lines in the NFC North, Bears suck. They gave up so many sacks last year.
Yeah, they had to radically overhaul this offseason.
Yeah, Vikings didn't have a great offensive line season. Detroit is Detroit. They had a good year, then finish.
They had a very good year, yeah.
And the Packers were very successful again in the regular season.
They were healthy, right? Yeah. That's the big part of it. 16 of the 17 regular season games, they had their ideal starting 5. That's not a guarantee every year in the National Football League by any means.
This is a portrait of an offensive line. It's not finished yet. It's pretty good. You can kind of see what it is, but you don't know what the final product's going to look like. It could be a masterpiece. We don't know.
But it's the boring picks like this. I mean, Steve, for you, maybe you have a different answer, but there aren't many times in my lifetime as a Packer fan, which really is kind of the start of the Brett Favre era, 92, 93.
Right.
Where I haven't really worried about the offensive line. And it's because of picks like this. Yes, it's a boring pick, but whether it was Ron Wolf, whether it was Ted Thompson, whether it was Brian Gutekunst, they have done a very good job of putting together offensive line talent throughout the draft. And not that Pro Football Focus is the be-all, end-all. It's just I like using it for judging offensive line talent because I'm not Tausch, I'm not Bulaga. I didn't play offensive line in the NFL. It's just hard to evaluate as a general fan. They were 6th last year as an offensive line on Pro Football Focus. It was a good offensive line, and I like to see that they continue to invest in it to make sure it stays that way.
It's one of those positions where I don't want to talk about it because that means they're doing their job.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of every other position.
What's the old rule, right? If you know the offensive lineman's name, that's because you've heard it on TV, which is a bad thing, right?
Stop getting flagged.
Exactly. Why do you know Kadeem Telford's name, Gabe? Because, he kept getting flagged in the playoff game.
Well, because I'm a nerd, but most people would not know his name, right? But again, I think there have been some really, Marco Rivera and just got really good guys that they've been able to find. Again, this is an earlier draft pick, but they've just done a really good job of finding guys, whether it's the second, third, fourth, whatever rounds in the last handful of years. It's something that has been a hallmark of every Packers general manager that's had success here in Green Bay.
Kids aren't going to go out and get a Belton jersey anytime soon. But he could be good. We'll find out.
We will find out. That is what the Packers do in round 2.
Have you ever been a jersey guy, Steve?
No. I have 2 jerseys.
Okay.
I wore one. I wore the Reggie White jersey.
I was about to say, Reggie. I guarantee Reggie White's one.
I wore it to the Super Bowl because it meant something to me, and the Dallas Super Bowl, and it brought us good luck because we won the game against the Steelers, and I hung it up, and it's still hanging in the same place I hung that thing. The other one is Brett Favre, because he changed the dynamic in this city from a fan perspective.
Those were very predictable jerseys.
Yeah, you could have guessed those.
You want to know the last Packer jersey I bought prior to Jordan Love? October 2018 was a sad time for a young Alex Strope. He owned 2 Packers jerseys at that point. Ty Montgomery and HaHa Clinton Dix.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Well, at least HaHa made a Pro Bowl.
Well, they were both traded on the same day.
Yeah.
So that was a brutal ending.
And you haven't touched the jersey purchase since.
I bought a Jordan Love jersey from overseas for $22 prior to his first start. And I think I've worn it 3 times ever.
I would love to hang a Jordan Love jersey when he's worthy of that honor. Let's put it that way. In my house.
Another tight end has gone. Now another cornerback has gone. Darian Porter of Iowa State, the cornerback, goes to Las Vegas at pick 68, which brings us to pick 69 and the New England Patriots.
Nice.
Very nice.
Birch is still out there. You know, as a pass rusher, if you're looking for something for the Packers. Again, we're still a ways away from that pick at number 87, but that's a name to keep an eye on because the first 2 picks, guys they brought in on visits. If you're thinking pass rusher here on day 2, Birch would be the name that's still out there. That's what I'm going to be watching. And if Birch is off the board, then I've got to reset and try to figure out what else they were going to be looking for in the 3rd.
We got to get a pass rush. That's something that has to change. So,
or Shedeur Sanders.
No, that's not going to happen. I thought we already had that conversation like hours ago.
Hey,
that was about the second round.
Yeah, I don't want to have that conversation again.
All right, we're not watching, obviously, the network coverage. Is that still a hot story? I mean, like...
Oh, it has to be.
Come on. I mean, at some point...
It is maybe not the story of the draft, because I think if we were to power rank the stories of the draft, number 1 is the Jacksonville trade to number 2 to pick Travis Hunter. I think number 2 is probably the Atlanta trade in with the Rams, trading next year's first-round pick to acquire James Pierce Jr. at pick 25 or 26, pick 25, right after the Vikings. And then I think number 3, Shedeur Sanders, slipping this far. I'm currently watching ESPN, and I just saw John Cena on the screen. But he's a bad guy, isn't he? Shouldn't he not be doing this, Gabe, from Good Karma Wrestling? Oh, he's chewing.
I could use a lot less John Cena in my life.
I could use a lot more John Cena in my life.
Seth Rollins, also a heel, a bad guy. He introduced the Bears pick earlier,
yeah, he did.
Later in the second round. I did know that Cena and Idris Elba were doing something special for the Patriots, but I believe they're both filming a movie right now, so they were unavailable to be here in person.
That's WWE champion John Cena, by the way.
Undisputed champion.
Undisputed champion. As the New England Patriots at pick 69, as we get to 70s, a wide receiver goes. How about Kyle Williams from Washington State?
Patriots super fans, a couple old guys, and some guy painted silver. What's that
fired
about?
up. Happy for you, Scals. So, I'm just looking at the big board here. The big board.
I'll pull it up here.
I still think it's defense.
Do you both have the same big board up?
No, we're looking at different websites.
All right, okay.
We do not look at the same big board. We are 2 different people using 2 different people's opinions as our own opinions.
Yeah, that's good.
I believe is what's happening here.
Yeah.
So the Packers hanging on to pick 87. We are at pick 70 now. The Detroit Lions on the clock.
You know what would really suck?
What would really suck?
Packers trading 87 down to like 95. That would suck.
That would suck. That would suck.
That would suck.
Von Rebel's still on the board.
Yep. Another name to keep an eye on. Again, somebody that brought in for a top 30 visit.
I don't know if he's going to fall 14
Who's the best
picks.
cornerback on the board?
Cornerback is Siobhan Rebel.
Siobhan Rebel.
Okay, all right.
From East Carolina.
There we go. Maybe that's our pick.
And maybe that's what the Lions do here, but I don't know if they really need a corner.
I mean, they did add DJ Reed, but in a division where Yeah, I mean, they don't have to worry about defending their own guys, but in a division that has the weapons that the Bears have with, and they continue to invest in that position as well in Chicago, but having DJ Moore, having Roma Dunze, have to find a way to defend them, have to find a way to defend what Minnesota has clearly with Justin Jefferson and Addison. So corners.
Matty Gold.
Yeah, but so again, corners are always something that you're going to have.
All right, so the Detroit Lions, of course, of NFC note here on the clock at pick number 70. The pick is in. Terrion Arnold, their first-round pick from last year, is the one announcing the pick just up the street at Lambeau Field. Taking his time, though. You getting chirped, Gabe? You getting chirped? Isaac Tesla?
Sure.
From Arkansas, the wide receiver?
The obvious, Tesla.
But 2 A's in Tesla and a lowercase e.
Tesla.
Hey,
a nice mullet, though, on Isaac.
Very nice mullet on Isaac. Is another receiver goes here in round 3. So a little run going here in the middle rounds. Obviously, the Packers knocked that need out in round number 1.
So Steve, as a Packers fan, and obviously some things have happened and are going to continue to happen tonight and into tomorrow as teams try to add to their roster. But the Packers finished 3rd in the division last year. How do you feel about how the offseason's gone so far and where they're at in terms of trying to overcome the Vikings, overcome the Lions, and stave off the Bears?
I think the Packers this is the position they're in. Lions are pretty good, right? And I think they'll add to their team. They obviously have players coming back because they had some bad injuries last year. They're going to be, I think, the top of this division. Vikings, I don't know yet. We'll see what their quarterback situation is. Caleb Williams, they've added all these threats apparently. We'll see what that means for that team. So the Packers are again in the mix. But here's the thing. You got to figure out the Lions problem. You got to beat the Lions. And until you do that, you're not really getting anywhere.
And I know that some people got sick of hearing this from the Mike McCarthy era. But honestly, I love the way that Mike would talk about stacking successes and hey, first goal of the year, win double-digit games. We win 10. Once we get to 10 wins, let's take a look around and see where we're at. Next step, win the division. And I know so many Packer fans that are going to, I don't care if we win the division. Guess what? You should. Because that means you get to host playoff games.
Remember we had this conversation in the mobile studio, and I said it doesn't matter. It actually did matter because that's a really big thing for this team. And I think as much success as they had in Dallas, 2 years ago, and that was an incredible game, and then they almost did it in San Francisco, that's a one of. Last year was a disappointment because they didn't take that and learn from it and develop their team going forward. So there's a lot of opportunity here to be better, but I think they're in a good place. But again, there's things and pieces they have to add. If they do that, then I'm more confident. Right now, I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where, because every time that I bring that up, somebody goes, well, in 2010, they didn't have any home games. It was 15 years ago at this point, man. And in 1996, they were the number 1 seed. Neither one of them has anything to do. When you're a young team like the Packers, both those teams had veteran players on it. And 2010 was a younger team probably than the 96 team, but they still had Charles Woodson as a veteran on the team. They still had Cullen Jenkins, who was a really good veteran on that team. Greg Jennings had been in the league for a while at that point by the time the Packers went to a Super Bowl. Yeah, they did have, Aaron Rodgers was playing in just his second postseason when they made that run. But when you're the youngest team in the league, it is so hard.